Welcome to the 135th episode of the Supernatural Occurrence Studies podcast.
So exhaustingly paranormal.
My name is Jason Knight, host of the show, and with me, as always, is
Oscar Spector,
producer extraordinaire and podcast co-host. Was that your Napoleon Dynamite impression?
Wow, I wasn't going for that. I was going for exhausted, and I was going with a little bit high, like high, exhausted, sleepy, like, oh God, get off my dick already, kind of thing. But not like Napoleon Dynamite. Kids, ask your parents. And I know the movie's not that old, but it's old enough where a generation of kids have not seen it. But now that you say that, I did kind of sound like
you
him.
Did.
Mm-hmm.
Just a brief message, listeners, if you want to
vote for Pedro.
Vote for Pedro, that's right. You made me lose my love that movie so much. Oh my God. I showed that movie to my kids. They loved it. Listeners, if you would like to skip our intro here, please check the show notes. There will be a timestamp that'll get you right to the topic. Napoleon Dynamite. Love it. Love it.
Yep.
Eat the freaking meat, Tina.
Can I have some thoughts? I remember some little things. I don't remember. I saw it maybe twice in my entire life, and I don't remember.
That's one of the good things about having kids is you could.
La Fonda. I remember La Fonda.
La Fonda, yeah.
The dance was epic. I remember some scenes. I just don't remember how everything connects.
Yeah. That's a good thing about having kids is you can relive these things again, you know.
You showed your kids Napoleon
Absolutely.
Dynamite? And they were were they into
they loved it. They thought it was hilarious.
Okay, I guess it works. Yeah, I guess. But it's just so weird that I don't know what age you have to be to watch it, but I wouldn't imagine it's kids. But, I mean, it's good for kids. Not like it's rated R.
No. And I think
it's so weird.
It was like 3 or 4 days Nico was running around quoting Napoleon Dynamite. It was hilarious.
That's so awesome.
Yes.
I wish I'd seen that, actually. That's kind of cool.
So before we jump into tonight's topic, another tome.
Mm-hmm.
Good job, Oscar.
Tome City.
What has been going on with you, my brother? What is new, exciting?
Well, actually, you reminded me of something that's pretty funny. This is almost arbitrary and nonsense, but I'm going to say it. It reminded me of, am I forgetting again? Am I forgetting in the moment as I'm recording the episode?
No, we have to edit this.
It was something about Napoleon Dynamite. It reminded me to tell you something. So I have not Gabby, this is someone else, another barista coworker who, right, I remember now, who, she doesn't like cats. She prefers dogs. She's a dog person over cats. I know because I asked her, and I asked her after she quoted or told me for the 5th time at least that she loves Don't Mess with the Zohan.
That was Adam Sandler.
Yeah. Right. And when she said today, as we're recording this, she mentioned that movie, she mentioned something about cats. And I was like, you don't like cats, don't you? I'm like, no, I don't. Like, that's why your favorite movie is Don't Mess with the Zohan, isn't it? And she's like, oh, well, I don't know about that. I'm like, yeah, but the way they treat cats in that movie.
I don't remember.
You probably thought it was hilarious, right? And she's like, I guess she never thought of that. Ever, I think.
Yeah, I'm not making the connection.
And it reminded me of you.
Oh, really?
Because you love that movie, and your favorite scene is when they're kicking this cat around.
Dude, it's been so long.
And back then, I know for a fact you were not a cat guy. You were way more of a dog guy. Now, I know you changed your mind since then. You have Midnight now. Yes. But so I know you're not the same thing anymore. But I know you used to be anti-cat guy. Yeah. And I know in my bones that the reason you love that Zohan movie is because of how they fucking treat that cat in that movie.
I'm gonna have to.
You just kick it around like it's nothing, like it's a fucking soccer ball, and it's just hilarious to you.
I'm kind of starting to remember.
And to me, I'm like, okay, it's okay scene. It's a funny scene because I like cats, and so I don't have a big connection. You were bragging about that scene.
Was
Jeff.
I really? Oh
I've only seen the movie. I saw the movie once, and it was too much. I didn't care about it, but you told me many times back then about this fucking cat scene, and that's why I told her today that that's why your favorite movie is Zohan, right? Because of the cat thing. And again, she didn't really think about it that way, but she didn't disagree either. So that happened.
There you go.
Sorry, today, and nothing to do with anything. But everyone, don't check out. Don't mess with the Zohan.
Not a fan, Oscar.
No, not a fan. Besides that, there's been some work drama, which has been okay, been interesting. And then there's I'm planning for not a big party, mind you. Like I think 4 people are coming to. The Oscars are on this Sunday. By the time this show comes out, it'll be a day after for the ceremony.
Right.
But I mean, again, they're arbitrary nonsense. No one can vote on the best movie. It's art. It's arbitrary. It's subjective. But it's still kind of important. It's still cultural touchstone, and I like watching it. I like making fun of it. So it's going to be, I'm going to invite some people over. Maybe we'll have bets on it. Like if you didn't get it right, you take a shot, shit like that.
Nice.
We'll see what we do. But so I've been watching a lot of those movies. Interesting stuff. I'm not going to talk about that either. This is not a movie show.
Well, let's just ask, since this is being recorded pre-Oscars, do you have a prediction for us?
I mean, I have a favorite that I think will win a couple, but won't win them all, or the main ones, and that's Promising Young Woman for sure. Promising Young Woman, it'll kick you in the teeth. It'll kick you in the teeth. Do not watch it with your kid. It's an amazing movie. I love everything in it. The directing, the writing, the acting, everything. And it's nominated for all that stuff. But like, I think it'll get a few. Maybe my heart of hearts, it'll sweep and get everything. But I don't think so. I think Nomadland might win more, which is also great. But I don't know what will actually win. Maybe a combination of the Judas and the Black Messiah, Nomadland, maybe Minari, but I doubt Minari because not enough people have seen it. That's how I feel. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I hope. I mean, I don't want the usual suspects to win necessarily either.
Okay.
So
that's
what
there it is.
So I want new people to win. New blood. Let's get some new blood in here. You know what I'm saying?
Good. Okay.
Kind of like your situation with work, right? New blood. Let's get some new people.
Yeah.
And the best things. Being vague there. Besides that, it's I mentioned that so someone might work at COVID, so only open for 8 hours in my store. So it's been really weird for me getting used to this thing this week where I have to both open and close the store at the same day.
Oh, that's rough.
No, it's not rough. It's just different. I mean, it was rough the first day. And it's been like a weird thing where like, have I been here all day? No, it's only been like 8-9 hours, but it feels like it because I opened the store and now I'm closing it. Just very weird. There was something else, but you know what? This is actually related to us. I've been playing murder mystery boxes. I've been doing them.
Oh,
I did one.
So I see them on Facebook, the advertising on Facebook for murder mystery boxes.
Yes.
Do you enjoy it?
I did it with. Well, so I got it for my brothers, 2 of my brothers. For both of them, I got them 6 months of them.
Wow.
So like every month I get a new one. So that's 6 of them. I have 4 or 5 now. 4, and we played finally. We finally got time, and we did one of them. The first one that came in, we did it last week, and it was a lot of fun. It was just like you get all these examples. You get the story layout. And every story is different. Obviously, it's different setting, different time period. The one we did, it was in a sanatorium.
Oh,
so it was like a clinic in the early 1900s. It's set there, and it's heavily on tuberculosis victims, like people who have tuberculosis, keep them quarantined from the population. And there's a murder, 2 murders that happen there, and your job is as a detective to solve it. And they give you a newspaper that's obviously fake, but like has all these detail and has like, the details of like, has like the art from that era. It has the famous Broadway plays from that era.
Cool.
Things like that. And it has ton of clues. There's like diary entries you get. There's like whatever. And it sets up the mystery for you. You're in this place. It's like Shutter Island in this case. This story is like a Shutter Island thing. It's a island that's away from the mainland, that's quarantined from everyone else. So as a detective that the killer has to still be on that island, and your job is to figure out who. And then you go on a website, a special website browser, username or whatever address, and it tells you the answer once you think you figure it out, and you go there to check your answer.
Okay, that's how it works.
Yeah, so my brothers and I, we spent like 2 to 3 hours with a break, obviously, in there to figure it out. Yeah, and we did figure it out. It was great.
So I've seen those ads so many times. There's so many different types of murder mystery boxes out there. Yes. I've been so tempted to order one. I I just didn't want to. I was afraid I was going to hate it, and
Yeah, no, I mean, I would say there is a bit of I mean, it wasn't like a perfect, satisfactory 100% thing on it. I would say that our Sherlockian mindset was thinking that it would be more convoluted or more complicated or intricate than we thought it was going to be, or than it actually was. Not to say that it wasn't a good thing; it was fun. And I can't wait to do the next one. But we realized that okay, these mysteries are not like. They're not like The Insider, or they're not like a Sherlock Holmes story. They're not supposed to be so detailed and convoluted in the solving of it. You have to just figure it out and solve it like a regular person, not go. So we got deep. My point. We went really deep on the motivations and all this
that's
shit.
fun, man.
And but apparently we didn't need to go that far. Is my point. So that was a little bit of a letdown in that sense. But that's more on us than the game.
Yeah.
The game is just a little more laid back than that. But yeah.
Do you remember the company you ordered from?
Oh, I did. I mean, I guess. Well, yeah. Advertisement. I used Hunt a Killer.
Hunt a Killer. Okay. Yep. Seen it.
But I know that's ever since I've bought it, I've seen so many other companies like being popped up into my advertisement feeds and stuff. So there's a lot more of them out there. It was just the first one that I knew about, and again, I kind of looked at the website for a while and researched user reviews, shit like that, and I was satisfied enough to try it out. So yeah,
I think you've convinced me. It does. It sounds cool. Maybe I'll do it now. So I think Katie and I.
Maybe after we all get like vaccinated and whatever, and we actually hang out, maybe I'll bring one of them.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
just do one. Yeah.
I wonder if there's a way we could do it with listeners.
I don't think so.
No, for Patreon or something. That would be kind of cool.
I don't think so. And also, I mean, it's a story, right? It's a story written in notes and scraps of fake notes and shit and newspaper ads. But like, maybe it's copyrighted. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know if we could spread it around like that. But maybe we can. I have no idea.
Something to think about.
I have no idea. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Cool.
That'd be cool. I don't know how we get away with it. Yeah.
We'll develop that.
Yeah. We'll workshop it. How about you? What you been up to?
Oh man. Well, I think the biggest thing for me is we took our New Orleans trip. We just got back
right.
Maybe a week and a half ago. That was amazing. Every time New Orleans never disappoints, and it adds a whole new layer of fun. It's awesome when it's my wife and I. When you bring the kids, it adds a whole new layer of fun. So we had a bunch of different plans made. We did a swamp tour. We did a shark escape room on my son's birthday.
What?
Yeah.
What is that? Explain
well,
that.
It's geared towards families, right? It's not like a crazy escape room, but you walk into this submarine and there's issues with the submarine. There's people trying to illegally kill sharks, and you have to solve all these different puzzles in order to advance through this submarine and eventually kind of save the day and save the sea life and the sharks from these poachers and stuff. And it was really good.
Wow.
My daughter really took a shine to it. She was very good at solving the puzzles. So seeing her in action there was this one mathematical puzzle. I couldn't fucking figure it out. And Talia's like, Dad, move. And she just goes and arranges these tiles and does the math.
It's algebraic,
Right.
Dad. Jesus.
It was so cool. And just all of us working together and solving the puzzles. That was really fun. Very unique. Something we would never do in New Orleans if it was just my wife and I, And,
Right.
And we visited the aquarium, we went to Grand Isle, Louisiana one day because I had my car. So we drove down to pretty much as far south as you could go in the state to a place called Grand Isle. And it's a beach town. It's right on the Gulf of Mexico. And man, it was just beautiful. You don't think of something like that in New Orleans or in Louisiana, I should say. But this just kind of sleepy beach town right on the Gulf. All the homes are up on 12-foot stilts because when the ocean comes in or hurricanes. And I was looking at property, found out it was actually relatively affordable to have something on the water because, that's a goal of mine is to get to the ocean one day, live on the ocean. So that was really cool. Something we've never done all the times we've been down there. So, it was just great. Took a haunted carriage ride through the French Quarter with the kids. They loved that.
Nice.
Ate a lot of good food, had a lot of good drinks, swam a lot. It was just awesome. We haven't gone away as a family in quite a while. So that was great. And now we're
That is cool. I'm jelly.
Well, we all got to go again.
You know, I've still never done an escape room. A lot of people around me go to them. I still never done one. So I'm really curious about that in general, just in general.
Yeah.
Cool.
So like adult escape rooms, I've never done one either, but I heard you're in there with like other people. And
I mean, usually a group of friends go, right?
And it's just your group?
Well, the group of friends that I have, they've gone.
I see.
And I obviously, I'm not saying they don't invite me. I just never got the chance to do it. I'm always working or whatever. But like they've gone several times.
See, I just don't want to.
And it always sounds awesome.
I don't want to work with strangers because I could see myself getting really aggravated and really mad and getting kicked out of the goddamn.
We can get a group.
Yeah.
Jay, we can get it. Yeah, we can be.
So that I would do.
We can join our faithful listeners to join us. They won't be strangers.
Dude, that would be. All right, we're gonna workshop. We're gonna workshop that one too.
That's 2 workshopping events.
So yeah, New Orleans was great. We're actually planning to go back my birthday weekend, which is May 22nd. We're thinking, Katie and I are thinking just jetting back for the weekend for my birthday. But
nice.
Yeah, never disappoints. So there was that, and then I don't think I mentioned on the show. I made the #1 salesperson in the country for my company.
I don't remember either. I know you told me last time we recorded, but I don't know if it was off air.
God, I hope I didn't. Yeah, just repeat that. But that was really surprising.
Oh man, you should boast it. It's cool.
Yeah,
that's a big deal.
That was a big accomplishment. But now I have targets on my back, of course. You know.
Yeah, you're the #2 samurai.
People don't like that. So got to just make sure and do it again this fiscal year. Make sure I'm not a one-hit wonder. But yeah, other than that, just work, man.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't say. I mean, it's paid off. I mean, all the times you've been saying work is killing me. It's paying off right now. That's great.
Yeah, thank you. And also working on a couple of shows for the podcast. So just staying very busy. Happy the springtime is here. Got the Corvette fired up.
Springtime for Hitler.
Yeah. What?
It's from the producers.
Oh, okay.
You said springtime, and it reminded me of Springtime for Hitler.
Like, whoa.
Sorry.
Wrong times.
Hitler on ice.
Wrong times.
Right. It's a Mel Brooks thing. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Continue.
Yeah. No, that's about it. We should probably get into the contact info so we can get this.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure after all that intro, they definitely want to contact us.
Yeah, right. Contact us to tell us to stop doing intros. The easiest way to contact the Supernatural Occurrence Studies podcast is by visiting our website, chicagoghostpodcast.com. From chicagoghostpodcast.com, you can get to all of our social sites, including Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and of course, Patreon. And in case you didn't know, for just $5 a month, if you join our Patreon, you get access to a library of Patreon-only podcast episodes. These are podcast episodes that will never appear here on our public feed. It's just for our patrons. It's our way of saying thank you. Thank you for believing in us. Thank you for supporting the show. So go to chicagoghostpodcast.com, click on the Patreon icon, and it'll take you right to our page. Otherwise, go to the show notes of this episode. There'll be a link to take you right to our patron. Did I do okay on that?
Yeah, I was going to say that also on that website, one thing that you should definitely ignore is the following 7 digits that Jay is going to utter. Go ahead.
872-529-0767. That's
It's the only jokey thing in the entire website. Everything else is serious, and we're serious. Jay insisted on putting this like prank-esque kind of like a joke. It's not even funny. By putting this number on the website, making our serious shit like a joke, like less serious. It demeans the spirit of what we're doing for putting this fake ass shitty number.
Demeans the spirit.
You know, in the early 2000s / the 90s, there was a special phone number that it was like a specialty phone number. It's like a 1-800 toll free thing where like not 1-800, but it was one of those services thing where if you call it, you get a voice message, pre-recorded voice message that says, I'm sorry, the person that you got this number from gave you a fake phone number because they didn't actually want to date you.
I remember that.
Or see you again. You know what I'm talking about?
I do, yes.
That's what this is.
Oh.
That's what this is. So
the Chicago area code 872-529-0767 leads you to a pre-recorded message saying...
right. Ha! Gotcha, bitch. You've been punked. Sorry, that was pretty loud. Yeah, it's the podcast equivalent of like, we don't want to date you.
I see.
You know, and it's a pre-recorded thing. And the wonderful thing about it is that you can say you're from anywhere. Like if Jay was in Cincinnati or whatever, and someone asked for the SOS phone number, like, this is a Cincinnati area code 872, because no one really knows. Right. And you could just say it for any of them, because it's not a real area code. It doesn't belong to any one area. It's just a general number. It's a general number.
Sorry, listeners. I had no idea. I thought it was a legit phone number that you could call or text.
You knew you were lying.
And we'll read and play your messages on the show.
Right.
Oscar, what do you say we take a quick break and get back into this awesome part 2 of Zip Code Unknown?
Yes.
Сегодня здесь собрались для рассмотрения важнейших международных вопросов, строить Советский Союз.
December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy.
Немецкие захватчики запрягают последний суд. Нет сомнений, что Германия не может выдержать долго такого.
That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
With this bomb, we have now added a new and revolutionary increase in destruction to supplement the growing power of our armed forces.
The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavor will light our country and all who serve it.
Миллионы павших не увидели, не дождались победы, о которой так мечтали.
Martin Luther King was shot and was killed tonight in Memphis.
There is no moral issue. It is wrong, deadly wrong, to deny any of your fellow Americans
that communism is an evil system, but it permits us to make economic progress. Lass sie nach Berlin kommen. Let them.
Listeners, welcome back to the show. Well, the lights are turned down low, the ceremonial candle is lit, and the drinks are flowing. Let's start this show. So, before we begin, we have to remind the listeners that this is a part 2, episode 134, Zip Code Unknown, part 1. If you haven't listened to it, go back and do it. We'll wait.
And you're
okay,
done.
We're back. So, yes, please go back and listen to the first episode. I'm really excited about this part 2, and I'll tell you why. So, in part 1, you kept it completely to your chest. I mean, even up to the last minute, I didn't know anything about what
I wanted to do it with this one too, but alas, I failed there.
No, you didn't fail. I asked for the photos. Give me the photos that are going to go in the show notes so I could start working on them, because getting them all stitched together, getting them uploaded, creating links for them and show notes, it takes time, and time is something, I don't have lately. So I asked for the pictures early, and you label them very simply. This location, that location. Right. And as I was looking through the pictures, I'm like, oh my God, he's going to talk about this. Oh my God, he's going to talk about that one. What's he going to say about this? Mm-hmm. So I'm really excited, Oscar. And once again, the level of research you put into this show for this episode is just staggering. What did you say? You have 36-page script?
Yes, 36. I did cut it, though. It was originally around 47, 48.
Yeah, just amazing. And once again, that's, I think, why people tune into this podcast, for that kind of level of storytelling and research.
Of like self-masochism. Yeah.
Yeah, you told me before we jumped on...
all masochism.
Yeah. You told me before we jumped on the mics, thank God this is the last episode in this series, because it's taken over your life to some point.
Right. Yeah, it did for a while. Even when I wasn't writing or reading about it or whatever, I was thinking about like, where should I put that entry? No, I should put it after that entry. No, I should definitely put it before. No, it makes more sense because I had this anecdote,
I do the exact same thing. It's always before I'm falling asleep and when I'm in the shower. It's just constantly on my mind how I'm going to restructure or put information.
And people at work are sick of me worrying about it. I told them, they're like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "I have anxiety over the show." I'm like, "Oh," I'm like, "Okay, great." Then why are you fucking asking then? If you're just gonna roll your eyes at me after, I'm kidding. They didn't. They're totally cool. But yeah, so it's. I almost went with a part 3 thing where I would just cut the massiveness, like the potential for the show was an extra 20 pages, no problem. So like I almost cut this one where it would be a part 2 and a 3, but no. I'm like, no, it makes more. It's like it's a more of a instinctually it's better and as a 2-parter, and it's better to put everything I want to say enough anyway. Even if I have to cut stuff into one episode instead of cutting this as well. So like, yeah, I decided it works better. But I almost made a part. This is almost a trilogy. That's my point.
Wow.
So thank God it's not.
Yeah, and I think we've only had 2 trilogies, maybe the.
Right. So we have the Alien thing, the Extravaganza.
Yes.
And then Manson.
I think those were the only trilogies we've had.
I think so too. Correct us if we're wrong. Also, we could just look at our website again, which is what?
ChicagoGhostPodcast.com.
That's right. To find out if we're right, we can also check that. But I don't know. Yeah, anyway.
Well, I mean, I guess if you're ready, man, without further ado, let's get into...
Also another little thing is that I in movies and books and a lot of things that have sequels to things, episodes, I guess, I really don't appreciate a part 2, like a number 2, like Gremlins 2 and
you should have seen his
Back to the Future 2
face on the Gremlins 2.
It's just so fucking peeling. It's so uninspiring in general. Don't get me wrong, it works. I get it. It's a sequel. It lets you know immediately it's a sequel. I get why people do it. It's like in Body Bags 2 for that fake movie and True Romance.
Yeah.
I hate that title. That producer in that movie hated that title too. So the part 1 of this is called Zip Code Unavailable. And it makes
I've been saying unknown.
Yeah, you did say unknown. It's okay. It's called Zip Code Unavailable because it makes sense. Those ancient cities ain't around no more, right? They're unavailable. This one is called Zip Code Unattainable. And it works in a different but similar fashion as to the part 1, and it'll make sense momentarily. You're about to know why it makes sense. Anyway, I just want to put that in there. Little thing.
No, thank you. Perfect.
Now, as you might have guessed by now, I prefer big picture takes on subjects and people instead of just focusing on events and their details. Don't get me wrong. The details are still fascinating to me, but I love and prefer to search for the core meaning behind my decisions and interests that are similar to yours and what brought you here today. To understand much of history, context is not only key, but it might be king. History, much like Mother Nature, is fickle and generally pretty brutal to the people and cities it touches. As you saw with some of the places I talked about in the last episode, history selects what we're going to forget, what we're going to remember. Beyond this, history chooses what takes credit, which peoples began the first joke, the first Gregorian-like chant, the first storyteller as great oratory, for example, or on paper, right? The first writing of a great story, right? It goes without saying that if you haven't listened, as Jay said earlier, if you haven't listened to the last episode, it'll be better to stop now and go back before continuing. The nature, for example, surrounding Gobleki Tepe kept those ruins for us to find, while the rest of the pre-Neolithic era had been destroyed. Today's sequel will deal with much of the same as part 1, except closer to our time and space. There will be less entries and only 2 segments. Last time we had 3. But you'll quickly realize that the information given will be packaged differently. Before starting with the segment, though, and the first entry, there is a lead-up that I have. There are several inspirations, several sources that led me to this topic. I mentioned the father of history, Herodotus, in part 1, as maybe the first time this topic became like a shadow of an idea. Our reconstruction of the Bloop episode helped too, but the straw that broke the camel's back was actually a movie. But I'll get back to that later. I'd like to focus on one of these other inspirations. It's very specific and it leads it up right to the first entry. It's David Lynch's Twin Peaks, The Return. It's the final season of the polarizing TV show that first aired in the early 90s, but was completed in 2017. There's a great and supernatural evil that has taken hold of the United States, and the show makes it obvious that it believes it began with the Manhattan Project. Real quick, the Manhattan Project was the code name for the very real American-led effort to develop a functional atomic weapon during World War II. They obviously succeeded, but Twin Peaks, the show, says that the consequences became something much, much worse for the country. It alienated people, made things angrier, more jarring, and explosive with emotion and strife. That this evil lurks and can show itself in the face of true human wisdom or savagery. Now, the first segment is called Land of the Blue. It's about the United States. And yes, we are going to be uncovering a combination of known and unknown cities or towns or elaborate sites that have at one point or another been removed from places like maps, right? And moved from the knowledge of its citizens. There will be some picks for each of the entries, much like part one, though not as many, and it'll help you visualize the locations and potential dangers. To begin this segment, I'm going to quote half of an article that best introduces my first three entries with aplomb. The first entry is a triple threat of cities called Oak Ridge, Tennessee, Los Alamos, New Mexico, and Hanford/Richland, Washington. Remember to check the show notes for photographs of each of the entries, and this is brought to you by the Natural Building Museum website. Quote, in the fall of 1942, less than a year after the United States was drawn into World War II by the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers quietly began acquiring vast tracts of land in remote areas of 3 states. The few residents of these areas were summarily evicted and their houses demolished. Soon, thousands of young workers arrived from far and wide, initially occupying tents and other makeshift shelters within the newly designated military reservations. Shielded from public view by natural barriers and security fences, the workers quickly erected hundreds of buildings, ranging from prefabricated houses to industrial structures of unprecedented scale. As they did so, thousands more residents arrived in the near continuous stream. By the end of the war, a total of more than 125,000 people lived in the 3 cities that had been built from scratch on these sites. Yet these cities appeared on no maps, and the federal government did not acknowledge their existence. Unfathomable quantities of supplies were delivered, but very little seemed to come out, adding to the air of mystery surrounding these, quote, secret cities. That mystery unraveled on August 6, 1945, when the U.S. dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima, Japan, and President Harry S. Truman publicly revealed the purpose of the sites now known as Oak Ridge, Los Alamos, and Hanford. In roughly 2.5 years, the Manhattan Project, so named because it was managed by the Army Corps' Manhattan Engineer District in New York, had produced a weapon of previously inconceivable destructive force. While the ethics and strategic necessity of the decision to use such a weapon in combat are still fiercely debated, there is no question that this initiative was one of the most significant milestones in the history of scientific research and development. The Manhattan Project would not have been possible without the extraordinary achievements in architecture, engineering, and planning that yielded 3 entirely new cities in a remarkably short time. Built in the early years of the modern movement, these cities reflected cutting-edge ideas about town planning, mass housing, civil and mechanical engineering, and modular construction. they became important proving grounds for the large-scale suburban development that would dramatically alter the physical and cultural landscape of the nation in the post-war era. Unquote.
Wow. So I've heard of two of these, obviously.
Which two?
Well, of course, could you name them again?
Oak Ridge,
I've
Los
heard
Alamos,
of, and of course, Los Alamos. Yes,
and Hanford.
Hanford, I never heard of.
Yeah, and there's a very specific reason. And when I get to the entry, you'll find out why. There's a very weird specific reason, actually, why that's been out of your radar.
Very cool.
But we're going to start with Oak Ridge.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think another interesting story just behind all this is how they relocated those people. What was that like? Was it all completely legal? Were they compensated? That I think that would be an interesting story in and of itself. But
in and of itself, I don't dig super into that. But in general, I would say no, they were not. They were mildly compensated just to move out, but not like, here's a new house. And
right?
No, they didn't.
Wow.
As far as I know. But yeah, I'll get into that a little bit. We're going to find out now. We're going to start with, obviously, Oak Ridge, Tennessee, also called Site X.
Love it.
Oak Ridge was established as a secret city in 1942 and was incorporated as a civilian town in 1959. It is 89 square miles / 232 kilometers for our European listeners in size. The town's motto is "The Vision Lives On," and its nickname is the Atomic City, which is why we'll focus on this active location from its secret birth up to its declassified teenage years. There are three main reasons this site was chosen to be the most important of the three secret cities. The first is that the area had a low population, meaning it was easier to buy or relocate people living in it. The second is that it was accessible by train and highway, and with the completion of the Norris Dam, it also had access to electricity and water. Finally, the project location was established within a 17-mile valley. This feature was linear and partitioned by several ridges, providing natural protection against the spread of disasters at the four major industrial plants, not unlike firecrackers on a string. From 1942 to 1945, the population grew from 3,000 to 75,000.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty big. I mean, back then also pretty big. Nowadays, that happens easier. Anyway, there were three major plants built at Oak Ridge. They were codenamed K25, S50, and Y12. These plants were built to separate the fissile isotope uranium-235 from natural uranium. The K25 uranium separating facility by itself covered 44 acres and was the largest building in the world at that time. The Oak Ridge National Laboratory was also born at this site as a pilot plant for the production of plutonium using a graphite reactor and was then known as the X-10 pile. During the construction of the magnets at these facilities, which was a requirement for the process that would separate the uranium at the Y12 site, a shortage of copper forced the Manhattan Engineer District, or MED, to borrow 14,700 tons of silver bullion from the U.S. Treasury.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a lot of fucking silver. This was to be used for electrical conductors for the electromagnetic coils as a substitute. There's a whole report I read just that explains the process of acquiring the silver bullion that's available to the public. Besides gas, food, and supplies, copper was a significant shortage that was caused by World War II, which is like, well, I didn't know that. This is the town that enriched the uranium to make the atomic bombs that demolished Nagasaki and Hiroshima. There are a lot of details and names that I'm skipping here that created and kept that place purring like a kitten while being hidden from the world and the very country it's in. The name Oak Ridge, while not formally adopted until 1949, was chosen because of how rural sounding it was. All workers wore badges, and the town was surrounded by guard towers and a fence with 7 gates. The news of the use of the first atomic bomb against Japan on August 6, 1945, revealed to the people at Oak Ridge that they had been working on this project. They didn't even know the people working there.
Wow.
They didn't even know. That's how secretive this and other sites were.
That's incredibly interesting. So, I mean, that starts to show how this compartmentalized nature of our U.S. government is. You know, when we talk about aliens and Area 51 and all these things, you know, people work on these very little projects and they don't know what their neighbors are working on. And the projects they're working on are so small, they can't see the big picture until they see the news in this case. Oh my God. I wonder what they felt like when they realized the destruction.
I wonder how many of them quit or got mad about it or the opposite, maybe felt proud, because this is a harsh debated thing in general, right? The use of them to begin with. It's a big deal. It's all a big deal.
The other,
and they always, it also reminds me of that show. There was a drama show. I think, was it AMC or maybe Showtime? They had a drama version of this. I think it was called Manhattan.
Oh,
and they got canceled though. I was watching it. I was enjoying it, and they were showing basically the drama version of like day by day what they were doing at these sites. And I remember being kind of educational on it. In general, I know it's fake, it's Hollywood, but it's also based on real stuff. So I liked it. I just don't remember much about it anymore, but I really liked it. You ever heard of it?
I haven't. Sounds really interesting, though.
It's old, though, and it got canceled.
And these secret cities, I mean, they fascinate me. So to learn about Oak Ridge, I've heard of it. I knew it was kind of a black site at one point. Didn't know what was going on there or the history behind it. Very, very fascinating. The other thing I picked up on is when you talked about how the developers of Oak Ridge had to hoard all of this silver bullion from the U.S. Treasury. I am a person who hoards silver and precious metals.
That's true. That's true.
Tangible assets. And
I didn't put this in, but they got it from Fort Knox.
I was going to say Fort Knox, but I said U.S. Treasury instead. I should have. That's probably correct. Fort Knox.
Well, they probably kept it there.
Interesting. Yeah. What?
I don't know. But I remember reading Fort Knox about this somewhere. I might have been this.
What a good time to be an investor in silver. That's for sure. When there was
and crypto,
a run on silver and copper. That's really interesting.
Exactly. Right. What a time. Next up here, we got Los Alamos, New Mexico, also called Site Y. Why? I don't know. I had to say it. But before being driven out by the Apache and the Navajo, the area we know now as Los Alamos was held by the Tewa settlers who spoke Kidis around the 10th century. In the 19th century, the land was used for ranching before homesteaders moved to the Rio Grande Valley. Finally, before the U.S. Department of War exercised eminent domain in 1943, a man named Harold Brooke bought a chunk of the land in 1917 to build the Los Alamos Ranch School as basic training for ranching and outdoor survival. Besides having the Site Y designation by military personnel, Los Alamos was called The Hill by nearby residents. Mailing address for the site was referred to as Santa Fe P.O. Box, and trucks coming in and out, mainly in, were falsely labeled as common items. Los Alamos is rare for many obvious reasons, but one that isn't so obvious is that it's also a sister city to the town of Nizhny Novgorod Oblast, or Sarov, back then in Russia. I'll get back to this later. Just hold that in your thoughts. As Site Y, Los Alamos had over 6,000 scientists and support personnel to work on the design and building the atomic bomb. There are 3 primary sites within the makeshift town. The first is the gun site facilities, which consisted of 3 bunkered buildings that were associated with the design of the Little Boy bomb. That's the name of it, Little Boy. I believe that the game Fallout has used this design in their movies and their stories. Sorry, it's a game. The second is the V site assembly building, which was used by laboratory personnel to assemble components of the Trinity device in July of 1945. The final site is the Pajarito site, which consisted of the Slotin building, the battleship control building, and pond cabin. This is the site used during the war for plutonium chemistry research and later became the main site for critical assembly work after the war.
And it's also supposedly a UFO site as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we talked about this location in the extraterrestrial extravaganza episodes.
That's so funny. I wish I remember that. I did not.
Los Alamos.
I just went straight for the Manhattan time.
Yeah.
For this entry.
Now with Oak Ridge, and I know Los Alamos is still functioning. Is Oak Ridge still a functioning city?
No, for the most part, from what I remember, no. I think Los Alamos and, Hanford is also going to be there always for a different reason. You're going to find out for two different reasons, actually. So I think Hanford has the most staying power.
Okay.
But Oak Ridge, I think, just has like that atomic company, conservative energy company, whatever it's called, that came from all this atomic age stuff. They have a museum there for sure, but I think Los Alamos is more active.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Cool.
I think you're right on that, but I don't remember exactly.
Okay.
All right, and now we're going to get into Hanford/Richland, Washington. Yes, those are two different names. The third member of this nuclear family is the most normal of the bunch. Today, the city of Richland in Washington state has a population of over 48,000 and has just about everything that a small city or a big town has, except, of course, for the fact that it is nicknamed the City of the Bombers and used to be called Hanford Site, which was a secret government city. Unlike Los Alamos and Oak Ridge, Hanford was more of an established railroad business town, booming from the transcontinental Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Louis Railway. St. Louis?
Louis.
St. Louis. Yeah, fuck that up. Before evicted on March... Oh, sorry. That sentence was better. Booming from the transcontinental Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Louis Railway before evicted on March of 1943. That's how the sentence should have gone. It also had the Columbia River running around it. While most of the buildings established by the town at that time were razed to make way for the Manhattan Project, Hanford High School was left standing and served as the construction management office during World War II. In case you were wondering why this site was chosen to build a secret base, especially when comparing it to the other more reclusive sites, it's due to the following. Ground that can sustain heavy loads, an abundant supply of electricity, a remote-ish tract of land surrounding it, and at least 20 miles from other people from that area, which is the same thing, I guess. I don't know why they put it twice. A huge amount of water, huge one, which is the Columbia River. The Hanford site occupied 586 square miles. I think that's larger than the other ones. And it was used for many things. Hanford was the home of the B reactor, which is the first full-scale plutonium production reactor in the world. The plutonium manufactured at B reactor was used in the first nuclear bomb, which was called Trinity. I mentioned that a little bit ago. Back then, the U.S. named these bombs, and Trinity was tested at 5:29 a.m. on July 16, 1945, about 35 miles southeast of Socorro, New Mexico, which is in the desert. Plutonium from B reactor also went into what was called Fat Man. The bomb detonated over Nagasaki, Japan. I realized that sounds like they did one thing, but really most of the buildings and the use of the Columbia River facilitated towards making these bombs. Here's another element that distinguishes Hanford from its sibling cities. Hanford site carried on after the war, more significantly anyway. In 1947, it was announced that funding for the construction of 2 new weapons reactors and research to develop a new chemical separations process entering a new Cold War phase of expansion. So this is all about the Cold War now. By 1963, there were 9 nuclear reactors along that same river, 5 processing plants on the Central Plateau, and approximately 900 buildings and radiological laboratories around the site. The peak years for Hanford were not in the 40s. They were between 1956 to 1965 and managed to produce about 63 short tons of plutonium, which supplied the majority of the 60,000 weapons in the U.S. arsenal. There was a lengthy decommissioning process that happened during and following the Cold War, which gave the people of Richland work in jobs of cleaning and restoration. It's not a great place to be today, however. Lots of nuclear waste has been dumped or placed in drums and buried out there and within the Columbia River. The aerial photo provided in the show notes demonstrates where on the river the waste was dumped. Richland High School's sports teams are called the Bombers.
Oh, man. Poor taste, I think. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it.
I would not want to be part of those cleanup crews. That's for sure. I don't care how.
You don't want to go kayaking around?
Right. I don't care how much the government tells me, oh, it's safe. It's safe. Fuck you. No, I'm not doing it. I can't believe it's still an active. It's an active city today, isn't it?
I mean, Richland is for sure, which is, I mean, not like, it's more like next to the site. It isn't like on it because you can't live on it anymore.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But what remains there is just cleanup crew and storage of the waste and whatever they did back then.
Wow, man,
But it's the most active site out of the three here that did the most production and damage after World War II.
It's incredible. You know, we were able to split the atom and create Trinity and Fat Man and Little Boy, right? But man, we did not plan for what are we going to do with this waste in 500 years. That's a big,
right? Yeah, at the moment, I guess we had
terrible problem.
Yeah, the very example of that generation, right? It's a perfect thing for that. So anyway, those are. I mean, it's a mini segment. It's still part of the first segment, but like those are the three Manhattan Project, right? Cities.
Yeah.
And remember, as soon as Truman, bombed Japan, that day / the day after, he announced the reality of these secret cities, which is a both good thing and also, shows you how much they pulled it off, right? That they could hide
Absolutely.
it. So it kind of shows both things there.
And
anything else before I continue?
Yeah, I was just going to ask. I'm assuming the remoteness of the two locations. And then with Hanford being surrounded by, you could say like woods or 20 miles of space, this is in case there's a problem, right?
Right. This is for accidental stuff, not just spying stuff, but it's for damages. They don't want to hurt people.
In case something blows.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Mm-hmm. Although I don't think 20 miles will do much, but who knows? I don't know. I'm not an expert. But yeah, that's those are three cities, and Hanford is again least known, probably because of the name change and because no one can live there really anymore. But it makes sense why that's the one you haven't heard.
Very interesting, Oscar. I can't wait.
It also could be very purposeful, targeted PR to know the other ones more than this one because of the fuck ups. It could be that too.
Oh, possibly.
I didn't read into this. I didn't research that angle, but it could be.
Absolutely. Great stuff. Can't wait to see what else you got.
Yeah, let's go on to the next one here. It's a popular town here. The next one here. Next entry, Roswell, New Mexico.
Wait,
you've heard of Roswell?
What is that here in the States? What, Roswell? Of course, I've heard of Roswell.
Oh, you're being funny. Okay, I was like, what the fuck? Is he high? Yes, Roswell. I've been there myself as a kid. Barely remember it though. Anyway, this entry is a perfect follow up to the previous, to the previous three actually. I'm not talking about Roswell itself, which is an extraterrestrial tourist attraction. I'm talking about the 12 heavily fortified underground missile silos. I've got two examples of this and what makes them secret locations. The New York Times had an article in 2015 about a real estate agent in Roswell, New Mexico, trying to sell a 25-acre parcel, which is just a green door that leads deep underground. There's a pic of that in the show notes. It's really uncanny, unreal. It is a testament of military architecture and tells of a time in America. Quote, at the height of the Cold War, the site had been the home of an Atlas F missile, an intercontinental ballistic weapon with a warhead of over 100 times more powerful than the atomic bomb dropped on Nagasaki in World War II.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know, right? The missile was taken out of service just after a few years, and left behind was a subterranean lair worthy of a Bond villain. burying 10 stories down and capable of withstanding a nuclear blast, unquote. The next example comes from the Albuquerque Journal, which is Breaking Bad land, right? On October of 2009. It talks about one of the 8 missile silos ready for reuse, and that it was announced during a signing ceremony that year hosted by the Army Corps of Engineers. Quote, a total of 12 underground silos housing Atlas F ICBMs were built in an array around Roswell in the early 1960s in a rush to match Soviet weapon systems. The missile silos, manned by the 579th Strategic Missile Squadron, based at the former Walker Air Force Base, were active for less than 4 years, ending in 1965. The missile silos are yawning pits of 180 feet deep and 52 feet in diameter, big enough to house 82-foot tall fucking missiles, with a deadly reach of 9,400 miles.
Wow.
Fucking long. That's fucking long. The silos are covered by huge, now immovable, concrete bay doors that weigh 75 tons apiece, unquote. Mm-hmm. I find this piece of history, an empty space for rent, charming, because it is a testament to the fears we had for Russia at that time. That we resorted to stashing weapons in plain sight to Roswell residents, only to abandon them shortly after to daring Kuyu levels of underground living is charming. Charming and traumatic, actually.
So I would totally buy one of those underground facilities if I could.
100%. I mean, 100%. Dude, me too. 1,000%.
Oh, shit. And the other thing, 9,000 and something mile reach.
9,400 mile reach.
I wonder if that is the distance from here to Russia. If we had to.
Yeah, it'd be good to look into that.
Right? If we had to have something that could reach mainland Russia.
I mean, if that's half the world, that's roughly half, right? So it means you can reach anywhere in the world.
Wow.
If it meets Russia, I guess that's halfway through the world, right? Which means if you send it the other way, you can reach anywhere on the other half of the world, right? So
I'm assuming I'm terrible with geography, but you know.
And math also.
It makes sense. It does make sense.
Yeah.
And to decommission them, 4 years later?
Yeah, just 4 years.
I mean, it's like, who funded it? I'm sure the taxpayers in New Mexico. And then
you don't
to
say.
Dump it 4 years later. What a slap in the face.
Yeah, and it took them that long, though, until that article in 2009, the Albuquerque the article that first highlighted all this. I mean, the Corps of Engineers, the Army Corps of Engineers did a whole signing ceremony approving that this is not their land anymore. They're just empty lots. Go ahead and sell them.
Wow.
From 1965 till 2009. That's how long it took. They were just empty shed holes. I also read a few other things that I didn't include here. About one of the stories was kids breaking into them and drinking and fucking spray painting everywhere, shit like that. So there's a bunch of that too. So it's like, people knew about it and people fucking underage drinking there. So it's fun times.
Good times, kids.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Looks badass. Looks like parking will be easy or hard. I can't decide. I have no idea. But all the pictures I saw of the front door, it just looks like in the middle of nowhere.
It is it's strange to see. And again, like Oscar mentioned a few times, listeners, make sure and check the show notes. Lots of pictures there for you to see.
Well, yeah. Not of the door. Mind you, there's only one of the door. But yeah, there's a few others there. All right, let's move along here. Still in desert land here. We're going to move to Area 51 in Nevada. I know. Oh, wow. We've talked about this. You know all about
Oscar,
it. You know way more than I do.
We haven't only talked about it. We've been there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. That's right. We did.
Yeah, that's right. We've been there. How do you forget?
I'm literally about to mention it. Anyway.
I'm sorry. I'll shut up.
I'm just messing with you. It's like you when you were like, Roswell, what's that? I just did the same thing you did. Area 51. Now, this isn't just a heavy topic in the U.S., but it's worldwide as well. Area 51 is probably the biggest source for conspiracies involving extraterrestrials, not to mention weapons technology and, who knows what else. We've been there on Alien Highway, which you can listen on episode 49. And let's not forget the trilogy of episodes that get into alien activity in the U.S., which involves Area 51 pretty heavily. Those episodes are 115, 116, and 117. Now, since we've covered this location before and will most likely do again, I won't go too in depth on this entry. Everyone knows about Area 51 and definitely has an opinion about it. Instead, I'm going to stick with information that has been declassified or general knowledge. Now, Area 51, unlike other locations like Oak Ridge, was always known about when acquired by the U.S. Air Force. It is a remote detachment administered by Edwards Air Force Base, the facility officially named Homey Airport or Groom Lake. Area 51 is supposedly a testing range adjacent to the Homey Airport. What isn't known is what happens there, and it is quite restricted from public view. It's as if someone builds a skyscraper in downtown Chicago, but no one unauthorized can enter, and no one knows what goes on inside, but you do know the building is there. It's kind of like
Makes
that.
sense. Okay.
Right. That's also a little nod to a future episode, by the way. Now, did you know that the CIA publicly acknowledged the existence of Area 51 for the first time on June 2013? Under the Freedom of Information Act, you can read about this on the NSA archive. The whole thing is about the secret history of the U-2 spy planes. It talks about the funding, technology, and code names over the years that led into making a U-2 spy plane, not YouTube. Jesus. Anyway, and in these reports, it mentions Area 51 and Groom Lake several times. This is straight from the source, from the actual source. Quote, on 21st February 1955, Richard M. Bissell, a senior CIA official, wrote a check on an agency account for $1.25 million and mailed it to the home of Kelly Johnson, chief engineer at the Lockheed Company's Burbank, California plant. According to a newly declassified CIA history of the U-2 program obtained under the Freedom of Information Act by National Security Archive Senior Fellow Jeffrey T. Richardson, the agency was about to sign a contract with Lockheed for $22.5 million to build 20 U-2 aircraft, but the company needed a cash infusion right away to keep the work going. Through the use of unvouchered funds, virtually free from any external oversight or accounting, the CIA could write checks to finance secret programs, such as the U-2. As it turned out, Lockheed produced the 20 aircraft at a total of $18,977,597, including the $1.9 million in profit, or which is less than $1 million per plane. It was all under budget, a miracle in today's defense contracting world. Right, that's what it said there on the program. What the CIA released in response to a 2005 Freedom of Information Act request is a substantially less redacted version of a history of two key aerial reconnaissance programs, unquote.
Wow. What were those? Do you know what those reconnaissance programs were?
No, those two, no, not specifically, but I just focus on the U-2 exactly. I think there's like one U-2 with a different design and maybe another one with like slightly different variations on the atmosphericness of it. Like it was very specific and weird. I don't remember anymore.
I see.
From what I collection, I didn't read the whole thing. It was like an encyclopedia of information.
Sure. Oh, on Area 51 for sure.
No, I mean on the U-2.
Oh, on YouTube. Well, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what they say goes on there. It's secret weapon testing, secret airplane testing. You know, all new sort of
right. The stealth bomber, right, comes from there, right?
Yes, yeah, I think it does because we were one of the times we were on ET Highway. We were at the Little Alien right outside Area 51, and we talked to a worker at the restaurant there, and he said, how did he put it? You know, for a few weeks back, God, I don't know, in the 80s or whatever, people thought they were seeing UFOs around the area, but what it turned out to be was test flying of the first stealth bomber, you know.
Right, and it must look really weird and alien, right? For the first time.
Absolutely.
It does look that way. It looks unlike any other plane, you know, at that time. And furthermore, you know, I wanted to include just information that is declassified, meaning facts that they just released. And luckily, this Freedom of Information Act story about the U-2 plane is kind of recent, 2013. I know it's not super recent, but it's within this new century. So I want to include something new, but something real, something facts. Everyone knows the conspiracies. I just didn't want to get into a hole, especially because we've talked about Area 51 and aliens and all that. But if you want another little tidbit of military technology being made there, used there, and this was corroborated as fact later on, after I saw it anyway, in the movie Zero Dark 30, they use a stealth chopper to get into Osama bin Laden's, compound in the dark under night, with as little noise as possible. It was because helicopters are pretty fucking loud, and you can't take a plane to just park there. You have to take a helicopter, and they took one from Area 51 that they were working on this stealth helicopter.
Did not know that.
It was part of the movie, and it was in apparently real life too.
That is super cool.
Yeah.
Wow. And of course we were there, which makes it all the more.
Yes, Todoy. We were there. We saw the guards looking at us, saying, "Oh yeah, another one of these guys."
Right. Yeah, they must have assumed right away we were just some dumbasses, no threats. But yeah, we stood right at that back gate. I mean, it was
I'm positive a sniper's scope was aimed at me at some point. I'm positive.
Well, I got really nervous when I walked out of the car with the Tascam, because it's a small black object in my hand. Could be a weapon, could not, maybe not.
Well, I mean, luckily you're not African American. Otherwise, you would be. I'm sorry, that was a Dave response. That was just a Dave response. But that's what he would say because that's what's going on. No, yeah, I remember you were worried, but it was fine.
It was. It wound up.
Cool. No one cared.
Wound up to be really, really great. It's awesome to say we were there. All right, what's up next?
The next one, that was the end of that one. Again, kind of hard to pick on Area 51 and trying to be just facts because, again, who knows for sure?
Right.
That's the whole point. Who knows for sure?
No.
So we know.
I think you played it safe, because Area 51 is nothing but one big rabbit hole, and I think you played it the right way.
Thank you. The next one is definitely weirder than the rest. You're going to find out why. Next one is called North Brother Island in New York. North Brother Island has a twin named South Brother Island and are located in New York City's East River between the Bronx and Rikers Island. North Brother Island is special because of how it was treated in U.S. history and what it must be like today. This island was uninhabited until 1885, when Riverside Hospital moved there from a different island. Riverside was known as the smallpox hospital to treat and isolate people of the disease. Over time, Riverside Hospital widened their mission to all diseases that required quarantine, the last installation being the Tuberculosis Pavilion, which opened in 1943 and became obsolete by 1945 when the cure was found and spread. So only 2 years there. It was the final home of Mary Mallon, who was known as Typhoid Mary.
Oh.
Yeah, and she died after being secluded on North Brother Island for over 2 decades, dying in 1938. Riverside Hospital closed only a few years after that. So that's interesting.
Very.
Here's another part of it. Abandonment for the island followed up until World War II, when the extra space was used to house veterans who were students at local colleges and their families. Again, abandonment followed again after the war, until the mid-1950s, when a center opened to treat adolescent drug addicts. New York City claimed it was the first facility to offer treatment, rehabilitation, and education to young drug offenders. Massive costs to NYC and damaging staff corruption forced the facility to close in 1963. What kind of corruption? I don't know. But apparently there was a lot of it. From that point forward, the only official thing North Brother Island is used for is to serve as a sanctuary for herons and shorebirds. Today, the island is mostly abandoned and access is very limited to the public. An Intelligencer article that interviewed New York City officials, from the Parks Department to historical offices, say that North Brother Island served as its own city, where at different points of its existence had a functioning morgue, a public school, even tennis courts. Quote, isolated and uninhabited, North Brothers campus crumbled, New York's own lost civilization. The elements cracked open dormitories and hospital buildings. The roads and paths wore away and are swallowed up by the weeds. That transformation has turned an unwanted island, now technically off limits, into the opposite. Unquote. North Brother Island is a place used to note structural decay in real time. The pic provided for you on the show notes shows nature taking over one of the buildings. For me, personally, it looks like a hotbed for supernatural activity.
That place is haunted as fuck. I mean,
as fuck, bro. As fuck.
Wow. I would love to visit. And I did not know Typhoid Mary was an actual person. I thought she would.
Oh, I thought you knew that.
I did not know she was an actual person. I thought she was kind of a made up figure to.
That makes sense. No, that makes sense.
Kind of like
I can see that.
Yeah, kind of like a figure to kind of
like Handyman.
Personify typhoid, typhus. You know.
Yeah, like Sammy smallpox, right?
Right, exactly. I did.
Right.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
I knew that she was real the whole time, but I didn't know any of the like where she ended up or anything like that. So that's so interesting that we both remember different little facts there about that. Anyway, on to the next one. Unless you got something else on North.
No,
Brother.
good.
Okay,
very interesting.
All right, East End Islands, plural islands, in New York. Again, New York. I don't know
what's going on in New York. What are you doing?
What aren't they doing? It's
right.
really fucking question. Much like the Ohio Islands, we've discussed during our Ohio trip on episodes 73 to 80, I'm talking about islands that are restricted from the public. Unlike North Brother Island, these islands are owned by the U.S. government or by private wealthy people, and that is what makes them appealing for people like me, the public, the poor, you know. The islands are as follows. They're called Gardeners, Great Gull, Little Gull, Plum, and Robbins. Have you heard of any?
Plum Island for sure.
What do you know about Plum Island?
I believe there's a research facility on Plum Island.
You don't say.
Yes, and I'm stretching. The Montauk Monster that, shit, am I going to get this wrong? I should probably stop.
No, it's okay. I definitely did not research anything that is potentially a monster like that. So I don't know.
I feel like Plum Island was like an animal research facility or something.
You want to guess where I first heard of Plum Island?
Where was it?
So I heard about it in 1990, whenever that movie came out, The Silence of the Lambs. There's this whole scene where they're trying to get information from Hannibal Lecter because he knows the true identity of the serial killer, Buffalo Bill. And so Clarice Starling and the FBI guys, they offer a fake deal to, like, not pardon him, but to transfer him to a location where he can go outside. And apparently one of the sweet deals was that once a year he'd be taken to Plum Island to see the birds and be able to swim in the ocean without fear of, without other people around.
I remember that. Yep.
That's the only reason. I mean, because I know that movie very well. It's one of my favorites. So, like, I recognized it from there. Anyway, stupid.
No, cool.
No, let's continue on these islands here. They're kind of slapdashery. It's not like in order here, guys. Gardeners Island, for example, has 3,300 acres and 27 miles of coastline. And it's said that it is the nation's largest privately owned island and oldest family estate with over 350 years. A book titled Philistines at the Hedgerow, Passion and Property in the Hamptons has interesting stories about the Gardner family, calling the island, quote, a sanctuary not just for wildlife, but from the 20th century as well, unquote. I really like that line. This island is the place where the famous pirate / privateer, Captain William Kidd, buried his treasure before confronting his trial. He was hung, by the way. It is the family where Julia Gardner became the Rose of Long Island in the 1800s. She was a heartbreaker to the max, dating an English nobleman, an Italian prince, 2 congressmen, 3 Supreme Court justices before settling down with the widowed U.S. President John Tyler.
Wow.
That's okay. I'm going to stick here for a second. Because I wrote, there was more that I read. I don't know why I didn't put it in. I think it was just too much. This, first of all, that's a lot of dating. I mean, that's a lot of high profile dating. She was a power dater, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Huge. When I think it was before they actually got married. Yeah, it was before. There was this what do you call it? An accident that happened on I don't want to say submarine, but it was some sort of boat or a ship where the president was on. I think it was maybe ceremonial in some way. And she was already having an affair with him. I mean, he was already divorced or widowed, whatever. But she was banging him on the side. And apparently one of the times a lot of people got injured in this explosion in the ship. And the only reason President John Tyler didn't get killed is because they hid out and ran underneath the ship or something to have sex as the explosion happened. So she literally saved a president's life by fucking him.
Wow.
I don't remember all the details, but that's what happened. And then they got married soon after.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah, you think?
Your listeners, you're only going to find information like this on the Supernatural Occurrence Studies podcast.
Especially the horrible way I delivered that. Yeah. I'm trying to remember. But yeah, that's what happened. I just thought I gotta meet her. Like if I time travel, I would meet her, right? I mean, how do you not meet that lady and find out what the hell is her deal?
Absolutely. I want some of that.
Anyway. Oh no, that's not what I meant. I mean, I am not, clearly she'd be punching way down here because I do not have a senator or a license, whatever they do. I don't know thing. Anyway,
now is this island still owned by the same family?
As far as I know.
Wow.
I've seen the house. One of the pictures is the gigantic fucking mansion on there. As my second example of weird, Robins Island, according to satellite images, has a strange pattern of mansions peppered across the island, one of which has a secret-looking path that leads to the shore, as well as a tic-tac-toe pattern on the ground. Check the pic. It doesn't really show the tic-tac-toe pattern super well, but you can look it up. And it looks really weird. It's not like, it's just the land. It's almost like a geoglyph, but of tic-tac-toe. It's really weird. Anyway, security of different proportions exists on these islands as what the owners feel they need or want, One manages just fine with many signs or strategically placed fences, while others employ armed personnel and guard dogs. Plum Island is the most secure and has the highest security of these 5 islands, and it is owned by the federal government. Plum Island wasn't just used for military training or arming torpedoes during World War II, but also the secret germ warfare project during the 1950s. Quote, for decades, officials denied rumors of biological warfare experiments, but in 1993, Newsday unearthed previously classified documents on plans to disrupt the Soviet economy by spreading diseases to kill its pigs, cattle, and horses. Most of the diseases studied, like African swine fever and rinderpest, affect only livestock, but one of them, Rift Valley fever, also occurs in humans. The warfare plans ended long ago, officials say, and now the laboratories focuses exclusively on preventing diseases. To satisfy their own concerns, Russian scientists inspected the center in 1994. Unquote.
So, yeah. Okay.
One more thing. My point with this series of islands is that they each have one or more aspects that raise suspicion or curiosity as to what is happening there, especially considering some of the shady history that exists.
So Plum Island, it's still a research facility.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I thought it was abandoned.
As far as I know.
Okay.
Oh, I don't think I didn't read anything about that, so I assume it would have come up.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Plum Island. Very interesting.
Yeah, but the Russians expected it. I mean, they weren't trustworthy. They were like, no. You need to fucking look at that island. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, they went there. And they were like, okay, yeah, it's deemed okay. Yeah.
Wow.
They had to double check it. That's like your mother checking your room like underneath the bed to see if you actually cleaned it or just shoved everything under there. Right.
Sometimes that's what global politics, that's all it is. Show me your closet, show me under your bed.
Right. Ready for the next one, or you have something else?
I'm ready.
Cool. The next one you're definitely going to know. Bohemian Grove, Monterey, California. Bohemian, your giddiness really throws me off, but in a good way. Okay. Bohemian Grove isn't a town or a city or a government site. It's technically a camp. Camp something. A camp established by a San Francisco-based gentleman's club in 1878, has 2,700 acres, and is restricted from the rest of the world. The SOS, that's us here, did a 2-part special called Bohemian Grove Parts 1 and 2, which you can check out on episodes 92 and 93. Because Jay has covered this topic/location so well already, I believe we read a script from this. I'll treat this entry similarly to Area 51. Basic info and some notable, and for the most part, provable highlights. And if you've heard of Bohemian Grove before, you can easily see how it earns a spot on this list. The Bohemian Club's all-male membership includes a range of people like artists, musicians, business leaders, government officials, former U.S. presidents, and senior media executives. There are certain times and activities given for guests if invited by members, but overall, it's pretty secluded. There are a few reasons why Bohemian Grove is so fascinating and potentially scary. For one, prominent members of the country and the world could hatch all kinds of shit, all kinds of schemes in this environment. Bohemian Grove is particularly famous for the planning of the Manhattan Project in 1942, when a meeting that included J. Robert Oppenheimer, Ernest Lawrence, military officials, GE, and Standard Oil representatives, and others were held on the premises. They have a crazy good security, as you may imagine. The club employs ex-military personnel to secure the area year-round. Motion detectors, thermal/night vision cameras, and vibration sensing alarm systems are utilized. During prime club events, they had extra help from the local sheriff's office, the California State Patrol, and let's not forget the U.S. Secret Service when ex-presidents visit. Stranger than its security is the ritual rhetoric they use. Idlewild, Mandalay, Owl's Nest, Isle of Aves, Sempervirens are some of the names they have for the different camps. The satanic, shadowy elite is something that has been said of Bohemian Grove, as a giant owl statue representing wisdom looms over the members during ceremonies like the cremation of care. Weird shit like that is what I'm talking about. People have broken into the place, either for violent purposes or to uncover truths, but we only get snippets. No women are hired to work there, and because of how little we know, Bohemian Grove remains a huge conspiracy theory topic, as it remains active, as far as we know, to this day.
It does, yeah. Like you said, we did cover this extensively in 2 episodes, and you're right, it does earn a spot on this list of unvisitable places.
Zip code ain't there, bitch.
Yeah. Love it. I don't want to get into a rabbit hole. So,
right. Yeah. Check out our previously dug rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Episodes 90 something.
Weaving spiders come not here is the slogan of the club. And you're right. We did read the play. You, me, and Lexi tried our damnedest to recite the cremation of care.
Was that well received, or did we lose listeners?
Pretty sure we lost listeners on that one, but that's okay.
Okay.
It was fun.
We bore our souls, is my point. That's all that matters. All right, on to the next one here. Pullman in Chicago, Illinois.
That's right.
Pullman is one of the 70-plus neighborhoods that make up Chicago, located 12 miles south from the Chicago Loop. It has a rich and interesting history to the state and the country. I actually was there some 10-odd years ago shooting a short film about the history I'm about to get into. I say shooting, but really I was just an assistant. I didn't write the fucking thing. Pullman is really a springboard for something that exists today, but used to be much worse depending on where you were in U.S., which are company towns. You know company towns, Jay?
Not familiar. I mean,
have you heard of the term before?
I'm thinking of like mining towns.
You're in the right track, right? Basically, yeah. I'm about to get into that part of why, and I use mining as an example of this. In this case, this is railroads with Pullman, but you'll see.
The Pullman car, right?
Now you remember this. I forgot the name of it. Well, sleeping car, I think, sleep car. Anyway, the following comes from an excerpt on the PBS website titled "Slavery by Another Name." Quote. In remote locations such as railroad construction sites, lumber camps, turpentine camps, and coal mines, jobs often existed far from established towns. As a pragmatic solution, the employer sometimes developed a company town, where an individual company owned all of the buildings and all of the businesses. In some situations, company towns developed out of a paternalistic effort to create a utopian workers' village. Churches, schools, libraries, and other amenities were constructed in order to encourage healthy communities and productive workers. Saloons or other places or services believed to be negative influences were prohibited. In other cases, the company's motivations were less ideal. The remoteness and lack of transportation prevented workers from leaving for other jobs or to buy from other independent merchants. In some cases, companies paid employees with a script that was only good at company stores. Without external competition, housing costs and groceries in company towns could become exorbitant, and the workers built up large debts that they were required to pay off before leaving. Company towns often housed laborers in fenced-in or guarded areas with the excuse that they were protecting laborers from unscrupulous traveling salesmen. In the South, free laborers and convict laborers were often housed in the same spaces and suffered equally terrible mistreatment. Unquote. Cut to the Pullman Car Company, founded by George Pullman, who was a manufacturer of railroad cars in the mid to late 19th century through the first half of the 20th century. Through mass production and rival takeovers, Pullman managed to gain a monopoly and ownership of sleeper cars, which he developed. This led to the company town Pullman. I know, very original naming. I got the rest of the information necessary from the Smithsonian. Quote, after the first residents arrived in 1881, Pullman began to draw black Americans north out of the Jim Crow South, but conditions led to one of the most famous organized labor strikes in U.S. history. Pullman lowered wages in 1894 in the wake of an economic depression, but refused to lower rents and other charges at the same time. Workers then rose up, leading to a strike and boycott that eventually involved as many as 250,000 workers in 27 states, resulting in up to 30 deaths, millions of dollars lost, and months of disrupted rail traffic. The government eventually broke the strike with a controversial injunction, which they enforced by sending in federal troops. Congress created Labor Day as a national holiday in the middle of the strike, in part as a gesture of appeasement. The strike also helped to lead to the creation of the first African-American labor union in 1925, called the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters. Unquote. The company town of Pullman wasn't the worst, but was far from the best. There are a great deal of stories that'll fuck you up when you read them. I went with Pullman because it's close to me and I have a personal connection. But Pullman is only one of roughly 2,000 company towns that have existed in the U.S. There's definitely a scale from good to bad, and one can only imagine how much worse it could have gotten in Pullman and how much worse it did get in other areas.
So I know the Pullman district. Obviously, we're both from Chicago. I did not know that Pullman was one of these company towns. I had no idea.
Yeah.
And I've also heard of the Pullman riots, some really bad. And there's supposed to be some haunted locations around that area as well that I just, I can't.
Yeah, that house that I shot the short in definitely felt haunted, but I wasn't into the life back then.
Right, the paranormal life.
So to speak. I mean, I knew you already, but like I wasn't super into it. But that reminds me of I read others that were nice. Like Google has its own little thing, Hershey's has a very famous Hershey's chocolate. Yeah. They have their own famous like little town in Pennsylvania.
Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Hershey, Pennsylvania. Right. They have their own town there, and I hear it's fucking awesome. Yeah, but there are many examples of really shitty ones.
Amazing. For sure. Didn't know that. It's from my own city here.
Yeah, right. It's a lot of history we got here. I mean, that's why we're fucked up.
That's right. It's not our fault.
No, it's our fault too. But like, because we don't want to grow or get therapy. But like, yeah, we fucked up. All right, on to the next one here. This one's called Mount Weather, Bluemont, Virginia. The Mount Weather Emergency Operations Center is the center of operations for the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA. We've all heard of FEMA, right? Especially after Katrina, right? FEMA was a very popular acronym for months, right? There is both a lot that is known and isn't known about Mount Weather. We know it's located on a 434-acre site in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and it was originally acquired by the National Weather Bureau to launch weather balloons and kites. Huh. As a weather station, it was first opened in the late 1800s, and it was used as a civilian public service facility during World War II. What began as two buildings, the administration and laboratory, what ended up is something much bigger. By 1959, the underground facility was completed, called Area B, and by 1979, Area A was finished, which is weird because it's backwards. And it was designated as FEMA's training facilities on the face of the mountain itself. While the top covers the 400 plus acres of space, the underground covers just over 13 acres, which is about 600,000 square feet. The underground bunker includes a hospital, crematorium, dining and recreation areas, sleeping quarters, reservoirs of drinking and cooling water, an emergency power plant, and a radio and television studio, which is part of the emergency broadcast system. A series of side tunnels accommodate a total of 20 office buildings, some of which are 3 stories tall, underground. The FEMA-focused and other sites and buildings derive their incomes from the Working Capital Fund authorized by Congress, and all serve the nature of any kind of disaster relief. Mount Weather is home to 6 major disaster operations facilities. While Mount Weather can easily accommodate 2,000 people, only the president, the cabinet, and Supreme Court are provided private sleeping quarters. For something called continuity of government purposes, officials are divided into Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie teams. One remains in Washington, another relocates to Mount Weather, and the third disperses to other sites. If you are wondering if such a measure has ever been taken, the answer is yes, actually. Twice, actually. The first full-scale activation of the facility came on November 9th, 1965, at the time of the Great Northeastern Power Blackout. The second time wasn't as full scale, but happened during the 9/11 attacks, according to a letter to the editor of the Washington Post, which says that most of the congressional leadership were evacuated to Mount Weather Mount Weather, period at there. Speaking of the Washington Post and disasters, do you know what brought Mount Weather to the public? TWA Flight 514 was a Boeing 727 airplane en route from Indianapolis to Washington Dulles International that crashed into Mount Weather, Virginia on Sunday, December 1st, 1974. Mount Weather was mentioned in the report that was included in the Washington Post article, and yes, they say the plane went down due to weather.
Oh.
Right. If not for this disaster, who knows if we would have ever known about Mount Weather's existence today? It was just luck. Check out the photo of the crash. They don't just handle big emergencies, though. Ever since the Cold War ended, they have been ordering service for the whole country on the smaller disasters. For example, a snowstorm in 1997 closed the NTC in Denton, Texas, and Mount Weather took 100% of the calls that day. The West Side Teleregistration Service representative personnel of buildings 704 and 712 took a total of 2,254 calls with an average wait time of only 12 seconds. Pretty good, right? Despite all that we know of this massive location, there's a lot we don't. It is mainly due to the nature of what is available and who can see the inside of Mount Weather. According to a 2015 article, Mount Weather actually has its own security systems, leaders, police and fire departments, and even its own laws. Quote, though right in the middle of the country, even residents of Virginia hardly know the reality inside Mount Weather. Residents and community leaders nearby said Mount Weather is a large employer, but a widespread mystery to the people and even to some of the facility's own employees, unquote. And regarding the TWA flight that crashed right by Mount Weather, quote, but even then, federal officials guarded the areas, not allowing any pictures of the site. The cameramen were not even allowed near the smoke and debris of the crash that claimed 90 lives, unquote. Though FEMA's Center of Operations is located at Mount Weather, it is run by the Department of Homeland Security. Hard enough to get a job there, it isn't open to the public, and not every worker knows what goes on in this sleepy Virginian mountainside.
Again, more examples of compartmentalization, right? People who even work there don't know the full picture. Very interesting.
Yep.
I wonder how... I wonder what the powers that be felt when that Washington Post article came out about TWA, what was it, 514, I believe?
Yes.
When they mentioned Mount Weather, where they're like, what are you doing? You can't publish.
Right.
That's pretty interesting.
Funny, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
God, what I wouldn't do to get a step in there.
It also reminds me of the level, I guess I'll mention this now. It's not on my show script like later on, but I'll just mention now because I might forget. It reminds me of the level of, the compartmentalization thing. Like there are different levels of it. Like, for example, when we talked about Area 51, and I should say, when we talked about how people who worked there talked about it, it was very focused and lasered on everyone not knowing what the other person is doing. Like it wasn't just that you weren't sure what you were doing. Everyone had that same feeling. Here, maybe it's like sections, like this building maybe doesn't know what that building is. So the compartmentalization doesn't work as one by one. It works by area by area, you know what I'm saying?
See. Okay.
Job by job. So like that's how you can tell how much conspiracy or how much they're really hiding based on how they treat their workers.
That's a great point.
Maybe that's a good like field test or something to figure out how much secret they have or how much they care about it, Anyway, I had a random thought about that. On to the next one here. We're going to go to Mercury, Nevada. Here's another government-based location. Mercury, Nevada is situated within the Nevada National Security Site and was constructed by the Atomic Energy Commission. In 1957, the U.S. Navy launched 9 atmospheric sounding rockets to measure nuclear radiation and other atmospheric data, using Mercury as a staging area. The Naval Radiological Defense Laboratory conducted its first test flight in 1956. This test rocket lifted 13.6 kilograms, or 30 pounds, to an altitude of 40 kilometers, which is 25 miles. The closed town of Mercury, Nevada was originally built as a military-style encampment facilities for personnel involved in these rocket tests. What began as Base Camp Mercury in 1950, and with the success of the 57 rockets, the acquisition of a full-service post office renamed this camp as a town called Mercury. Upgrades in the 1960s led to adding a school, a movie theater, a bowling alley, recreation hall, swimming pool, and hobby center. They had a gym, a library, a non-denominational chapel, my favorite little one, a bus station, and a full care clinic. An airport was added in 1962 for President John F. Kennedy when he visited the town. Mercury flourished until 1992, when the U.S. began to honor the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, which they hadn't signed at the time, actually. Nonetheless, a skeleton crew of about 500 people remains today, leaving amenities like dining, bar, and the gym left open. But the rest is Ghost Town City. If the Manhattan Project is any indication for security, it's obvious as to why Mercury is a closed town to the public. Known, but closed. That said, you can book a bus tour of Mercury. There's a rigorous process to get approved, and you must plan at least 1 year in advance to get a chance of getting an appointment. It should go without saying that any kind of electronic device that captures sight or sound are strictly prohibited. I read an article of a man going through this process and talking about the abandoned buildings. Mercury, Nevada is also no stranger to conspiracy, as you might imagine. This comes from an incident that occurred on January 28th, 2019, not too long ago, guys, and the article that reported on it. Quote, at 5:18 p.m. local time, a man drove through the security checkpoint at Mercury, which is located roughly 70 miles north of Las Vegas. The austere enclave off of U.S. Route 95 has long acted the base camp for the test site's operations. A car chase ensued, with the notoriously territorial private contractors that guard the massive installation and Nye County Sheriff deputies pursuing the rogue vehicle. The chase went on for roughly 8 miles before the car pulled over. A man got out of his car with some type of metallic cylindrical object in his hand and was confronted by his pursuers. Confronted his pursuers, my bad. He would not respond to verbal commands and was shot dead by both security personnel and law enforcement officers as a result. An official statement from the Department of Energy, whose National Nuclear Security Administration runs the site, says that they have contacted the FBI to help investigate the strange incident. So far, we have no information on what this man's motive may have been or his level of sobriety, but suffice it to say that such events are rare out at the remote location. Unquote. And there is still no information that I could find on the cylinder or the man's motive.
I was going to say, I want to know what that cylinder was.
Oh, I saw you think it harder. I felt it from here. Sorry.
First of all, never even heard of Mercury. We've been to Nevada. We were all around those test site areas, the missile ranges and things. And
the pictures show giant craters there. There's giant craters.
Fuck.
It's amazing how, not just we missed it, but it's generally not known about.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Great addition to this lineup.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that's one of the late additions on here. I actually took out, I'm about to claim what I took out, but like I took out a couple others that, together made up a Mercury of information. Like, oh, yeah, this is so much better. Yeah. Let's go with this.
Nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Man, I want to go visit. And it's, I remember we did the White House, the Presidential Ghosts episode, and we talked about getting a tour of the White House. And it seems the background, the waiting period to get to Mercury is pretty much on
par with the
White House.
Really? Well, that makes sense, I guess. That would make sense for something so restricted, right?
Crazy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that. That's a good pairing there. Anyway, so that's Mercury, Nevada, and that's the end of the first segment. Now, it's important for me to talk about some of the background info on the shows I research. Sometimes, not all the time, guys. The list of locations was nearly twice as long, and I actually ended up cutting researched and written entries for the time and tone, as I already explained. If I had included everything from my outline, this episode would be at least 20 more pages. I mentioned, for example, how I cut many ancient cities that either met my requirements but already had my fill or didn't provide enough intrigue for what I was going for. For the Land of the Blue, for example, I had Fort Knox, which Jay mentioned on his last two-parter. That was the time I told you we're very close to something.
I remember, yeah.
Now you remember? Yeah. A great entry was also going to be RAF Menwith Hill, which is part of some conspiracy theories involving the U.S., but the fact that it's located on British soil, it didn't meet the requirements. It had to be in American soil. Two other island entries were the private ownership of some of the Ohio Islands, as well as Niihau Island out of Hawaii. One would have been too much island research, and the other turned out to be more wholesome than the rest of them. Very wholesome. The Niihau Island, they don't do anything. They're cool.
They don't do anything.
They have no fucking problem. They don't do anything. They just have fun all day. So they had nothing interesting to say.
Off the list you go.
Yeah, fucking get the yeah. I mean, this is not a nice podcast. Anyway, sorry. Next up here, the Marshall Islands, for example, from 1946 to 1958 was another disqualified pick. It served as the Pacific Proving Grounds for the U.S. and was the site of 67 nuclear tests on various atolls. The world's first hydrogen bomb, codenamed Mike, was tested at the Inuiatak Atoll in the Marshall Islands on November of 1952.
That's right, yeah.
These islands are disqualified because they're too far from the Land of the Blue. Ghost towns were a topic on the original outline, but I decided to save them for another day entirely. Lastly, there are two other hubs that are brothers to Mount Weather, and they're called the Cheyenne Mountain Complex and the Raven Rock Mountain Complex. Yep. All designed for emergencies and have similar military involvements and only slight differences.
Great. Yeah, no, I've heard of Raven Rock. I've heard of Cheyenne.
Really? I never heard of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think I was doing research on like deep underground military bases, DUMS, and those two came up.
Oh, of course. Those are perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, there are others that I missed too, that I didn't like include.
There's supposedly countless throughout the world.
Kind of, right? They seem pretty much like endlessly. We can make a podcast on just the underground shit.
Absolutely.
A separate show entirely. It's surprising how much we have underground stuff. We're a bunch of little moles. All right, let's start the warming up for part two. The second segment of this show. That's what I meant to say. Which brings us to the fifth if you count both shows, the fifth and final segment of this two-part episode. What I've gathered from researching areas kept in secret on U.S. soil is that it began, or at least got ramped up, by World War II and the Cold War. The main reason Oak Ridge, the missile silos in Roswell, nearly everything in Nevada, and other places were kept under wraps from the public was because of our mistrust of other nations, particularly Russia. I talked earlier about how Twin Peaks, among others, inspired this show. The main inspiration for researching all of these cities and sites came from a movie, as I said, and it's called Tenet, which came out last year. Have you seen it?
I have not.
You haven't seen Tenet yet? Damn. Okay.
Damn, Daniel.
Well, I'm about to explain something. Never say it.
Sorry.
No, I'm okay with you. I don't care. I'm not. That thing is still for too young people. I mean, have to be 25 to enjoy that one. All right. Here's the synopsis, in case you haven't seen it yet. An unnamed CIA operative is recruited by a mysterious organization called Tenet to participate in a global assignment that unfolds beyond real time. The mission: prevent Andrei Sater, a renegade Russian oligarch with precognition abilities from starting World War III. The operative will soon master the art of time inversion as a way of countering the threat that is to come. Now, that's the synopsis. Here's from an Esquire article about what exactly in Christopher Nolan's film inspired me. Quote, early on in Tenet, while we're still getting the basic plot straight and before time inversion scrambled everyone's minds, there's a scene in which Sir Michael Caine utters a phrase which appeals to our sci-fi imagination. Here's that phrase. I presume you're familiar with the Soviet-era closed cities. The villain, Andrei Sater, grew up in a closed city in the Soviet Union. This spot, which is obscured from maps, once housed a plutonium plant. By the time the film ends, we are left to believe that closed cities are as much a figment of Christopher Nolan's imagination as a temporal war against the future. However, just like the fact that the time inversion finds its basis in real physics, closed cities are a very real part of history, a fascinating relic of the Cold War with parallels today. Unquote. How many people knew of this? Did you know of this?
Not the movie, but closed cities, yes.
Closed cities in Russia?
Yes,
okay,
I've heard this before. Yes.
Anyway, I mean, okay, how many people out there maybe knew about this? Write to us and let us know. I mean, it is a film like Tenet and a show like Chernobyl that clued me into this idea of closed cities. I think I heard about it before, but I never grasped on it until I saw these things. The name of the fake closed city in Tenet was called Stalsk 12, which I looked up and then discovered the article that led to the show. It is fascinating. This final segment will be called Land of the Red, in which we're going to delve into some of these closed Russian cities and come up with a perspective and a further sense of conspiracy. Here's some info. I have to fucking prepare for everything. Here's some info that'll lead into my Russian entries. Quote, first established in Russia in the wake of the Second World War, as the Soviet nuclear program was gearing up, closed cities are settlements where travel is restricted and which often require authorization for visitors to enter or remain in overnight. These areas often used to be sensitive military establishments or secret research installations, which required more space or freedom than a conventional military base. I mean, we did that with Oak Ridge right there, right? The residents of these areas can include family members of those working on secret projects or trusted associates who might not be directly involved with the purpose of the closed city, as well as shopkeepers, cooks, and cleaners that were needed to keep a population ticking over. These settlements didn't appear on official maps and were generally named after the official city. Were named after the closest official city, which led to them being referred to by the euphemistic term post boxes, because correspondence to these areas was directed to mailboxes in other cities. Closed cities fell into two categories. The first being small communities with sensitive military, industrial, or scientific facilities, such as arms plants or nuclear research sites. The other category are border cities, or areas which were closed for security purposes. These are similar to parts of the Eastern Bloc during the Cold War, where a large part of the inner German border and border between West Germany and Czechoslovakia was placed under tight restrictions. Unquote. It should be known now that closed cities that were closed for political or military strategic reasons will be left out entirely out of my show. So no towns from Ukraine or the Balkans and so forth, for example. Let's begin. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
The first entry in my Land of the Red. It's called Seversk 13 in the Tomsk Oblast region. Formerly known as Piaty Poktovi, which means the fifth postal, and later as Tomsk 7, Seversk 13 is a closed city and had a population of over 100,000 people. President Boris Yeltsin, that vodka drinking guy, decreed in 1992 that such cities could use their historical names, hence the change to Severus 13. The town had been absent from any official maps until then, until 1992. Severus 13 was the site of the Siberian Chemical Combine, the SCC. It was established in 1953 and was a big part of the Soviet nuclear program. The facility produced plutonium and highly enriched uranium, HEU, as well as fabricated warhead components using the produced plutoniums and HEUs. The Siberian Chemical Combine is based on 4 plants. The isotope separation plant, which separates isotopes with a low degree of uranium-235 enrichment. The sublimation plant, which processes the uranium-laden products for isotope enrichment. The radiochemical plant is the processing of irradiated uranium blocks for the purpose of extraction of uranium and plutonium. Yes, it sounds confusing. Lastly, the chemical metallurgical plant's purpose is to melt and process of plutonium with the production of components for nuclear weapons and special items. And they also did magnet shit there. A lot of magnet stuff. As the Cold War ended, so did production of plutonium, and finally shut down in 2008. The facility remained a major site for storage and handling of weapons-grade materials and nuclear weapon components. The SCC is one of the largest facilities that holds low and intermediate levels of nuclear waste from reprocessing, with more than 30 million cubic meters stored via deep well injection. The SCC has supplied low-enrichment uranium fuel and processed uranium for foreign customers over the years. So they have people buying shit here now. That is why Severus 13 was important and has become a closed city. Now, besides that, Severus 13 is known for 3 things. 1 fun and 2 bad. So 1 good and 2 shitty. Here comes the fun one first, right? In March of this year, 2021, a free-to-play video game called War Thunder announced that the city layout of Severus 13 will be added to the game that will come with the next major update.
That is pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. War Thunder is a vehicular combat multiplayer game that was first released in 2012, and it has a cross-platform format of a lot of Microsoft stuff, Mac OS, Linux, PlayStation, Xbox. I have seen a YouTuber review the new layout and compare it to the pictures of the real city, and it's quite accurate.
Wow.
You can use the photos to do the same, or Google some of it. You can find out the same thing. The second thing Severus 13 is known for is an accident. The first of 2, actually. On December 13, 1978, at the Siberian Chemical Combine, while Russia was still called USSR, a critical accident occurred involving metal. The following is from the database of radiological incidents and related events, last modified in 2005. Quote, this is it's going to get fucked up here. Quote, the accident occurred in a facility which processed plutonium metal ingots. Ingots were placed in stainless steel cans within a glove box. In violation of procedures, one operator asked a second operator to assist him in transferring ingots amongst containers to speed the process. The second operator, unattended, erroneously transferred 2 ingots to the same container. The first operator returned and transferred 2 more ingots to this same container for a total plutonium mass of 10.68 kilograms. While transferring the 4th ingot, a critically excursion occurred, producing an energy release that either expelled the 4th ingot or prompted the operator to instinctively withdraw it, ending the excursion. The operator saw a flash of light and felt an instantaneous heating of his hands and arms. The operator received a whole body dose of 250 rads with a localized dose to his hands of over 2,000 rads. 7 other glove box operators received doses of 5 to 60 rads. Unquote. Wow. Yeah, it's pretty big deal. All this shit. It's pretty lethal shit. You know what I'm saying? This is not good stuff. Now, this is a relatively small, accident compared to the other nuclear-related accidents that we know about and that I'll be talking about here. So let's go bigger. The following is from an article that discusses the events 10 years later and how the people affected by an accident at the SCC are seeking compensation. This incident led to the desertion of Severus 13. Quote, according to the official data, on April 6, 1993, an explosion ruptured the spent fuel reprocessing shop of the SCC radio technology plant. A tank containing uranium, plutonium, and niobium was destroyed. The blast ruined 2 stories of the building. The radioactive gas release was carried by the wind northeast, causing radioactive contamination of 200 square kilometers. The accident was ranked 4 on the INES scale. INES stands for International Nuclear Event Scale, which rates from 1 as an anomaly to 7 as a major accident.
Wow.
So this is a 4, right in the middle, right? Unconfirmed reports suggest that the release was caused by French spent nuclear fuel reprocessing under the contract of the French company Kojima or Kogema. I'm not good with French names. The accident could easily turn into a disaster for the cities of Seversk and Tomsk should the wind direction have been different. It would have been way worse if the wind was blowing a different way.
Wow.
Population of the closed city of Seversk, former Tomsk 7, amounts to 177,000 people. The population of Tomsk is 500,000. All of the samples made in the contaminated area show hot particles with activities of 12 kBq, which is too dangerous for human health. The contamination was spotty. Gamma radiation in the area exceeded natural background radiation in 20 times over.
Wow.
Ministry for Nuclear Energy, or Minitom, admitted beta contamination of the region only when local specialists engaged by a non-governmental environmental organization carried out their own independent research, unquote.
Yeah, Russia they would keep the lid on that as long as they could. Or I should say the USSR, right? It was still 92.
Yeah. Well, it was 90 something. No. This happened in the 90s. No, they still I mean, this is a relic from that area. Yeah. They built it from the US as a Soviet Union, but it was in the 90s.
So it was Russia by then. I don't think it matters. They still would have kept the lid on it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Horrible.
Yeah, I know. Let's go on to the next one here. They're not all disaster related. By the way. I didn't just pick all the disaster ones. Okay, some of them just happen to have them, but there are more. Next up here is Vilyuchinsk, Kamchatka Krai. Founded in 1968, Vilyuchinsk. See, I already fucked it up. Vilyuchinsk was originally named Sovetsky through the combining of 3 earlier settlements, which supplied the Soviet Navy and served as a base for submarine construction, particularly for the World Wars. The code name based on the nearby population of another city was Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky 50 until 1984, again because of President Yeltsin. The town was renamed to Vilyuchinsk after the nearby volcano located on the Kamchatka Peninsula about 20 kilometers across from the Avacha Bay. This entry is a short and sweet one because other than the construction of Russian submarines, both regular and nuclear, Vilyuchinsk economy was based on fishing. There was a brief time in the early 2000s when plans to close this town was talked about, but didn't come through because it was President Vladimir Putin who personally opened a modernized version of the town by adding residential buildings, a hospital, nursery school, and sports center with a water park in 2007.
Hey, happy fun times.
Yeah.
So it was it was a regular sub, nuclear sub assembly area. They were talking about closing it. It's active today.
Yeah. Still there.
Okay.
Putin made it alive, kept it alive.
Huh. Okay. Interesting.
That old bastard.
That old wily coyote.
Yeah, he's very wily, that guy. Ooh, next one. Sarov, in the Nizhny Novgorod Oblast region. I fucking mispronounced it. I know I did. Before President Yeltsin asked the residents of Sarov to rename their city in the mid-90s, Sarov was known as Kremlin from 1956 to 1995. It's also been known as Gorky 130. Gorky.
It's kind of fun to say, though. Gorky.
It sounds fun. Gorky, right? It sounds fun. I'll never mention it again on the show. And important... Sorry. I don't know why I do that to myself. And it was also, another name was kind of a little of importance. It was also called Arzamas 16. This town of just under 100,000 people has got some history before the Soviet renaming and before it was machined for war. Sarov can be divided into two different periods before gradually becoming the center of research and production for Soviet and later Russian nuclear weapons. Sarov was known as one of the holy places of the Russian Orthodox Church.
Wait, hold on. So
that sentence made no sense. So before it became nuclear shit, it was a hub for the Russian Orthodox Church.
Wow. I mean, let's talk about flip-flopping purposes here.
I know.
Holy shit. No pun intended.
Really?
I can't help it. I just can't help it.
You're just that good. No, I'm kidding. That was easy. Yep, you're right. I saw the same thing. That's why I included it for this one. This is due mainly of its monastery, which gave Russia one of its greatest saints, Saint Seraphim. Have you heard of it?
I have. I couldn't tell you what he the patron saint.
Well, he was Russian, apparently.
Yeah, Saint Seraphim. Yeah.
Settlement for the area has had many owners. Going back to the 12th and 13th century, a large settlement of the Mordvin founded the spot before being taken over by the Tatars, which is a Turkish ethnic group, in 1298. Sarov got its name from the Sarov Monastery next to the Sarov River. I know, super creative. In 1664, an Orthodox monk, Theodosius, first settled there, and the first church of Sarov was founded in 1706. Saint Seraphim lived in Sarov from 1778 to 1833, where he and the town was visited by the royal family, which is a big deal back then. Roughly 320 monks lived in the monastery when, unfortunately, in 1923, was closed down after they were executed by the Bolsheviks. Yep. During the Second World War, the monastery buildings were used as factories to produce rockets for the BM-13 Katyusha rocket launchers. This is where we replace religion with war. You ready for that replacement? You have a sad face.
Unbelievable. Okay, yeah. Sorry.
No, you're good. Sarov became a closed city when, in 1946, the All-Union Scientific Research Institute of Experimental Physics was built. Fucking shorten these names up, guys.
Acronyms, people. Acronyms.
Oh, no, I'm sure the acronym's there, but I want to name the whole thing. But
no, I get it.
Name it building, Christine building. Something, come on. Who cares? Come on. Anyway, sorry. The town is home. See, I'm having a giggle right now, so sort of God. The town is home to the Russian Federation Nuclear Center and Atomic Bomb Museum. Sarov is the capital of the nuclear activity for the Russians. Because of this, outsiders and Russian citizens that do not live there need special permission to visit Sarov. Its small airport is designed for military use only, and other flights are directed to other locations, and you have to fucking rent a car to drive there at that point. Remember one of the other names the Russian military had for this town? Arzamas 16? Well, in 1993, the town became a sister city to Los Alamos, New Mexico, the home of the U.S. Nuclear Weapons Laboratory. Scientists from the Russian and American side cooperated in the 90s on various arms control and nuclear safeguard programs. To their amusement, the Los Alamos scientists learned that their Russian colleagues paid homage to their American rivals by calling their lab Los Alamos.
Ah,
Hence, sister cities. That's what makes them like a pairing of cities. I just find it super charming, the idea of that, just fun times. Sure, they drank a lot. Anyway, today, the Russian Federal Nuclear Center is responsible for important decisions concerning the development, production, storage, and utilization of nuclear weapons, the recycling of radioactive and other materials, and research in fundamental and applied physics. Whew. International foundations have helped to fund some research scientists in Sarov following the downsizing and the transitions after the Soviet era. But you still can't fucking go there, okay? So remember that. No one can go there. You can't go there today. All right. And sorry, I forgot to give you the sign.
Yeah, no, very cool. I don't know. I mean, I don't really have any comment. Everything I did, I just learned there. I don't know anything about it.
That was all new info.
All new info, but I mean, the thing that sticks out to me, of course, the sister city, that's pretty cool. Twinning, right?
Yeah, twinning.
And the whole religious background.
Star-crossed lovers.
Right.
Sorry.
Cool. No, what else you got?
Oh, man, this one's going to break your heart. Ozyorsk, Chelyabinsk Oblast. Ozyorsk was founded on the shores of Lake, Ityash? Let's go with that. In 1947. It was known as Chelyabinsk 40 or City 40. They just call it city a city. City 40. Started funny to me in my head there. City 40. Anyway, before in 1994, because of President Yeltsin, of course, renamed it. Ozyorsk is known as the birthplace of the Soviet nuclear weapons program after World War II. It is the home of the Mayak plant, which is one of the sources of Soviet plutonium during the Cold War, but later became a facility for processing nuclear waste and recycling nuclear material from decommissioned nuclear weapons. I must have said nuclear 50 times. The plant covers 90 kilometers, and along with Richland in Washington, Ozyorsk were the first two cities in the world to produce plutonium for use in Cold War atomic bombs. Almost like brother cities, but they didn't like each other. Due to gaps of information from 1945 and 1957, Mayak was built and operated with great haste and with disregard to safety.
Of course.
Here it comes. The plant dumped large quantities of solid, liquid, and gaseous radioactive material in the area immediately surrounding the Mayak plant. Over time, the sum of radionuclide contamination is estimated to be 2 to 3 times the release from the explosions from the Chernobyl accident.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of accidents, let's get into one that occurred there in Ozyorsk. This is a doozy. The following is nearly a full report of what is called the Kishtim disaster. Quote, September 29th, 1957, Sunday, 4:22 p.m. In the production association Beacon, Ozyorsk exploded one of the containers, which were kept high-level waste. It's written weird. I think it's translated from Russian. Sorry, I should have said that. The explosion completely destroyed a stainless steel container located in a concrete canyon 8.2 meters deep. In total, there were 14 cans, in the canyon. 1/10 of the radioactive substances were lifted into the air. After the explosion, a column of smoke and dust rose up to a kilometer high. The dust flickered with an orange/red light and settled on buildings and people. The rest of the waste was discarded from the tank. The rest of the waste discarded from the tank remained at the industrial site. Reactor plants got into the contamination zone. Immediately after the explosion at the facilities of the chemical plant, dosimetrists noted a sharp increase in the background radiation. Many industrial buildings, vehicles, concrete, and railways were contaminated. The main spot of radioactive contamination fell on the territory of industrial sites and 256 cubic meters of radioactive solutions were poured into the tank. The radioactive cloud passed the city of atomic scientists and passed by due to the successful location of the city. When it was laid, the wind rose was taken into the account. It's written weird, sorry. As a result of the explosion of the container, a concrete slab weighing 160 tons was torn off. A brick wall was destroyed in a building located 200 meters from the explosion site. They did not immediately notice the polluted streets, canteens, shops, schools, and kindergartens. In the first hours after the explosion, radioactive substances were brought into the city on the wheels of cars and buses, on the clothes and shoes of industrial workers. The most polluted was the central city street, Lenin, of course, Lenin. Especially when entering the city from the industrial site and some other street that I'm not going to pronounce, where the management of the plant lived. Subsequently, the flow of radioactive substances was suspended. It was forbidden to enter the city from industrial sites of cars and buses. Site workers at the checkpoint got off the buses and passed the checkpoint. This requirement extended to everyone, regardless of rank and official position. Shoes were washed on flowing trays. I don't know why. This territory, which was exposed to radioactive contamination as a result of the explosion at the chemical plant, was named East Ural Radioactive Trace, or YURT, E-U-R-T. Its total length was about 300 kilometers, with a width of 5 to 10 kilometers. This area was inhabited by the 270,000 people. Fields, pastures, reservoirs, forests were polluted on the territory, which turned out to be unsuitable for further use. I mean, you can imagine, for hundreds of years from now. In a memo addressed to the Central Committee of the CPSU, Industry Minister E.P. Slavsky wrote, investigating the causes of the accident on the spot, the Commission believes that the main culprits of this incident are the head of the radiochemical plant and the chief engineer of this plant, who committed a gross violation of the technological regulations for the operations of storage and radioactive solutions. That's the end of his quote within the quote here. Yeah. In the order for the Ministry of Medium Machine Building, signed E.P. Slavsky, it was noted that the reason for the explosion was insufficient cooling of the container, which led to an increase in the temperature in it and to the creation of conditions for the explosions of salts. This was later confirmed in experiments carried out by, other factory laboratories. The director of the plant, M.A. Demjanovich, that's fun to say, took all of the blame for the accident, for which he was relieved of his duties as a director. Almost done here. The radiation accident in the Urals posed as a whole series of completely new tasks for science and practice. It was necessary to develop measures for the radiation protection of the population. An experimental station was created in the Urals, which played a leading role in studying the consequences of the accident and developing the necessary recommendations. Unquote. So basically, they built a way station by the contamination site as practice to say how to deal with this in the future.
That's fucked up. That's all I can. I mean, that's.
Well, I mean, I have one more paragraph on this, but yes, it is really fucked up. And obviously, by Urals, they mean the Eastern Ural Radioactive Trace, which I mentioned, YURT. The whole thing was secretly covered up, and only a few people overall knew the full scope of the incident until 1980. I realize that this is the perfect opportunity to discuss what radioactivity does to man-made structures, to nature, and the human body, but I won't. It's well known that the lucky ones just experience maybe some pain while living noticeably less than the average person. And it's horribly worse to anyone that was under that cloud. I also realize this is an opportunity to discuss the Chernobyl disaster in the close town of Pripyat in 1986. Again, from the several documentaries and well-informed news broadcasts, not to mention the excellent HBO series, this incident has been done to death. I'm going to skip it for this show.
Yeah. We need to come up with alternate forms of energy. That's for sure. This shit is. I mean, that section of the world, just like Fukushima. I mean, they're uninhabitable. Done.
For hundreds of years, at least.
Yeah. Oh, Fukushima. They're saying it's going to be.
You can't do shit.
It's going to be thousands of years for Fukushima. That's how fucking bad it is. Yeah. And I think it's still leaking, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, this stuff is. Yeah.
Yeah. If it makes you feel better, that's the last one that involves nuclear shit.
Okay.
I am done depressing our audience concerning nuclear shit. Yeah. And I know this is the right time to say the Homer Simpson line. It's pronounced nuclear. Nuclear. It's not. Sorry.
It's okay.
So I got the next one here. Next one is called Norilsk. That's not right. Norilsk. Krasnoyarsk Krai.
Ooh.
It's like saying that. I probably said something way off. Norilsk City is in the Rybnaya Valley amid the Plutoran Mountains. Founded in 1935, the population is permanently set to about 175,000 people and has temporary inhabitants that reaches up to an additional 45,000. It is the world's most northernmost city and second largest city that lies within the Arctic Circle.
Okay.
After another Russian city called Murmansk. Along with another city called Yakutsk, Norilsk is one of the only cities in the continuous permafrost zone of the world. Permafrost. Yikes. You want to live there?
No.
This entire entry is about never wanting to live there. You ready? Norilsk isn't your average type of closed city. It is heavily controlled and definitely closed, but it has no military or nuclear weapons related alias. That's the real name, always been Norilsk. It's closed for several reasons. One of which is that it's difficult to get up there. There are no roads into Norilsk. When the waterways aren't iced over, one can sail there, or you can use a plane. No sunlight hits Norilsk from late November till January, and temperatures plunge into minus 60 degrees, up to minus 6 degrees in 2016, for example. The cold has spawned a booming of freelance taxi businesses because it's too cold to walk even short distances. They charge a fixed price of $1.70 or about 100 rubles. Even their buildings get frostbite. I'm not kidding. I saw pictures. Their buildings get frostbites. It is so cold there that upon digging the foundations of the buildings, they found the bones of the last wild mammoths.
Oh, my God. This sounds...
Their fucking... I know, right? Their fucking coat of arms and flag is a polar bear holding a key. For Christ's sake. I'm just illustrating how fucking cold it is.
That's really fucking cold.
Fucking cold. Okay. Whatever you complained about last year or earlier this year, right, with the snowstorms.
Nothing compared.
Nothing. It's like, that is summer to them. That is legit summer to them. Anyway, continuing on here. Another reason Norilsk remains a closed city is because of what's underneath the snow and the ice. Norilsk is the center region where nickel, copper, cobalt, platinum, palladium, and coal are mined.
Wow.
Yeah, it's insane, actually. One of the world's largest in nickel, and according to a New York Times article from 2017, quote, it is Russia's coldest industrial city and its richest, at least when measured by the value of its vast deposits of palladium, a rare mineral used in cell phones that sells for more than $1,000 an ounce.
Right now, it's higher than gold. Palladium is very, very expensive to get.
Norilsk has a shit ton.
Damn, we got to go to Norilsk, man.
Now you want to go? No. The rest of this entry is discouraging you from this. You ready? I put this in the right order for a reason. It was this cache of palladium deposits that gave Norilsk some much needed money and materials to get internet service. Recently, they got that. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, companies like Norilsk Nickel grew empires at Norilsk. It was what turned the city from simple settlement in the 1920s into a way bigger deal by 1935. All of this raw material led to the following, quote, thanks to all of this industry, Norilsk is one of the top 10 most polluted cities on the planet. Every year, more than 2 million tons of gas, clouds of dioxide, sulfur, nitrogen oxides, carbon, phenols, and more are expelled into the atmosphere. This ecological disaster is damaging the health of the locals, who on average survive 10 years fewer than people living elsewhere in Russia.
Wow.
The risk of cancer is also twice as high as respiratory diseases are widespread, unquote. A different article said that the pollution turns an area twice the size of Rhode Island into a dead zone of lifeless tree trunks, mud, and snow. Here's another quote. Quote, at one point, the company, Norilsk Nickel, belched more sulfur dioxide a year than all of France. It has since taken some steps to reduce its output of toxic waste, but it was last year, at the time it was written in 2016, blamed for turning the Dalyakan River, a river that runs by the plant, into a flow of red goo. Locals called it Blood River, unquote. What do you think now? You want to know?
So I got to say, you provided some pictures of this.
Oh yeah, the red goo is on
this
there.
Place. Listeners could see how fucking depressing this city looks. They are sitting on top of a literal gold mine, and it looks like the most depressing place on the planet to live. And yes, there's the picture of the Blood River there too for you to see. Just check it out and imagine living and working in those conditions. Ugh.
Oh, Jay, no, there's more.
There's more?
Yeah, there's more. Now, these reasons may be good enough to avoid going there. I don't want to write them. But it also makes sense why and how this Arctic city is closed, right? There's something else, though. All foreigners are barred from visiting without a permit, assuming you can't even fucking sail on frozen waters or get a fucking plane. The reason for this is that Norilsk is the home to Norilsk. Norilsk is the name of the outpost, for the slave labor camp that worked on the mining. Norilsk is a part of Stalin's Gulag, and for roughly 20 years, around 650,000 inmates labored there in Norilsk. A place and work environment so harsh that one estimate said that out of all those prisoners sent to work between 1935 to 1956, around 250,000 died from cold, starvation, or overwork. This labor camp was dismantled by Nikita Khrushchev. Just so you know. Quote, the bones of former prisoners also keep resurfacing, appearing each year when winter finally breaks in June and the melting snow carries to the surface the buried remains of the city's grim and officially smothered past, unquote. Permits to visit Norilsk are only granted by Russia's federally secure service, the post-Soviet version of the KGB.
Amazing. You know that place is haunted AF.
As fuck. As fuck.
Oh, man. So if I'm not going for the palladium, I'm going for the ghosts.
Yeah, but you'll die. You'll get cancer, live slightly less, and...
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I don't know. And you'll see bones. Okay, that's cool. The bones is cool. But the cold, I mean, I don't know. The cold stops me, probably. I mean, I say I'm tough with the cold, but I'm tough with the cold here. You know?
Exactly. Yeah, I feel bad for the people there, man. Oosh.
So I didn't put this part in because, like I said, this was all a Debbie Downer entry. But there was some positive stuff. I read some articles about the young people there, like the young generation there. They just made a nightclub there. They're excited. They have polar bear swimming clubs there. They're doing ballet dancing there. I saw a lot of things, how they handle themselves being indoors most of the time. And then when they do go outside, making it worth it. Like I said, with the nightclub, putting new music on. A lot of pictures of that stuff. They're having fun there. They're trying.
Good for them, man.
They're trying. Yeah, they're going for it. It was good. Actually.
So this nickel company...
Yeah.
Did they?
That was one example. There's many other companies.
Well, I'm just curious. So they must have made their fortune on slave labor.
Yeah, at some point when the Soviet Union collapsed and then the slave labor stopped and the inmate stuff stopped, they had to turn it over to someone. Someone enterprisingly must have stepped up or had been already there and made itself into a company. I don't know. I didn't read the history of.
No. I'm just speculating, but
yeah, but you're probably right. Yeah, something. Yeah, they have to.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, Norilsk is my final entry for Russia. But of course, there are some honorable mentions here. The runners-up, so to speak. First, we have Zhelnizhgorsk. Sorry. Why'd you laugh? You fucked me up. I knew you were going to laugh. I knew you were going to fucking laugh. like my mistake is gonna be noticed by everyone, right? Yeah. Sorry. This is so funny. You should see his face, folks. He broke my face. Anyway, this place, part of the nuclear developing family of a close city in Russia, it produced weapons-grade plutonium, and they built within caverns excavated into the granite mountain on the northern edge of the city, those plants as well as peaceful research facilities. They built a lot of shit across the inside natural stuff. It's very interesting, that one. Okay, another example is Zemensk, which served as a missile testing range. And of course, let's never forget Pripyat. There are many more, just from Russia alone. They've got every other country beat by a Russian mile. Not kidding. Additionally, she's fucking questioning your reactions, making this way more tolerable to read. Additionally, if you're curious about other countries and their close cities or secret cities, many of them tend to have one or two. Most of them tend to have one or two, especially European cities, but are most likely benign, or at least closed for humanitarian reasons. Most of them that are red, like simple reads. They can be animal sanctuary islands or toxic remains of past wars. Like, you can't go in there. It's too bad for you, you know. Then there's a place like North Korea, but I didn't want to get fucking near that one. The fucking 10-foot pole, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's the land of the red, technically. Now, I have a whole ending thing set up here, so I'm just going to get to it right away. As I as you think about the bombardment of the information I just gave. Anyway, if you recall, I compared cities to characters in the movie of our lives on the previous episode, in the opening of our part 1. I'm sure you've heard of people calling a city, usually New York, a highlighted character when depicted well in a movie. I'm sure you've heard of that before. It's like the movie Manhattan, starring Woody Allen, Diane Keaton, and New York City, right? The Untouchables, starring Kevin Costner, Robert De Niro, and Chicago, right? Chicago is a character in that movie. A lot of people say that about those kind of movies, you know? With ancient cities like Memphis or Xicheng, they're old-timers, telling us these grand old stories and how things used to work for eons before the inevitability of change sets in. Before young countries like Germany and the United States took over with innovation and fucking havoc. I strongly believe that the heart, the origins of a great deal of the conspiracies that have entertained us for decades comes from trauma. The 2 world wars did a lot of damage to all these towns and cities, some forever destroyed or altered, while others show their trauma by hiding their true nature from us. Russia's like that, I guess. Maybe they are bombastically fortified, or they're ruled by companies and lies and martial law. It is no surprise that Russia is leading the world and all of history in closed cities, head and shoulders above everyone else. Their closed cities and rapid constructions, not to be taken advantage of by foreign influence and missiles, has led to irreversible disasters and further trauma of the land and the people by obscuring facts, integrity, and intention. The very same applies to the U.S., guys. the capital of many things we are proud of, but also of holding a great mistrust with ourselves and with the rest of the world. Our riches and lack of trust, perfected by the original secret cities of Oak Ridge, Los Alamos, and Hanford, has led to classifying too much for too long. We don't give ourselves the time to heal from the fact that Americans are good at creating conspiracies. On one hand, it's great that immediately following the detonation of the nuclear bombs on Japan during World War II, the U.S. told the world about the hidden cities that made it happen. However, history has shown us that as America got better at making towns like Berkeley or hiding missiles in silos in Roswell, or creating company towns that bullies our workforce, the less America was willing to tell us about it. That's what creates all of this conspiracy and why fickle or incomplete or totally false conspiracies have popped up like weeds. Jay and I have struggled with this, especially recently. Think of QAnon, for example. This level of double, triple deception has made people hard to believe, like Bob Lazar or George Knapp. The bigger and deeper a conspiracy goes, the less we trust, and it is usually justified, but traumatic nonetheless. It explains why The X-Files was so popular and podcasts like the one you're listening to right now. The Cold War, which is how I decided to structure this episode, divided two great bodies of characters, or cities, into a doomsday DEFCON, furthering our mistrust as we furthered our ability to hide and lie and create conspiracies. Maybe the core premise of that Twin Peaks episode I referenced at the top of the show hits closer to the truth than I imagined. One of our great original sins might be that creating a way to destroy ourselves has led us to deceive and experience a heightened sense of trauma. Tenfold. I do not have an answer, if there even is one. I simply find this kind of exploration to be fascinating and hopefully fruitful. At the very least, I hope you do too. It's this guy talking for like 5 minutes of what it's like having children, and everything about what he said reminded me of you. And I was like, oh man, I think Jay will get a kick out of this guy, or the way he monologues this whole fucking thing.
That's awesome.
How would it like the lack of sleep, everything involved with it. Like now he has younger kids than you, so he's still like in the younger phases. Yeah. But like it's so funny. Just like I just thought of you the whole time.
That's hilarious. Even though they're younger, I mean, I've been there, done that, so I can still relate.
Right, you were right. Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they don't make it easy. That's for sure.
Right. It makes you question your entire life choices.
Oh yeah. Multiple times a day. Okay.
Two things.
Yes, sir.
One, it was really funny when you was like, all right, I'm going in. I love you. It sounded like you were never coming back. And two, it seems like you drag your feet around the house.
Oh, my slippers, yeah. They don't have any backs on them.
I'm saying if I was your mom, I'd be like, pick up.
I know, because when Talia does it, it makes me fucking crazy.
I can imagine. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. That's not Jay-approved behavior.
Jay's slipping in his old age.
The night does not approve. No. That's it. That's two things.
They're watching Nancy Drew. That's a show Katie watches with the kids.
Oh, the show, not the. They made a movie recently.
Yeah, no, the show. They're addicted.
Yeah. Have they read the books? Any of them?
Oh, probably not. Tally doesn't read. I got her It for Christmas. I thought she,
dude, that's a tome.
I thought she would
that's
love it. Okay, I got her all the Harry Potter, every book. Never even cracked it. Fucking.
Probably uses it to level a table.
No shit.
Because you could go up higher as the table deteriorates. You could put the have blood prints because it's thicker, and then
Nice.
they get progressively.
The kids just let you down in every corner. They really do.
And then if a table is really fucked up, you put a Robert Jordan book.
There you go.
Which only fantasy people know. But yeah, it's that's why I don't have kids. I mean, I disappoint myself on a daily basis already. I don't need someone else to help me out on this. I do not need help in this arena. You know?
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah. Are you ready, man?
I mean, I'm just going to be as ready as I was last time.
Okay. City, the palladium and the gold, or the,
Oh, I know. I put that last because there's just so much stuff to that city.
Because believe me, I've tried to buy palladium. I can't fucking afford it. Even an ounce.
How much is it?
I want to say an ounce. I can tell you right now. I can tell you exactly what an ounce is going for right now. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, sure. Have you thought of going into airline stocks because they're going to be going up? They can't be going down anymore.
You know what? I stopped playing the stock market myself, and I just use my 401k. I use my investment company to just choose my stocks for me. I'm no good at it.
Yeah.
Come on. Dude, my internet's fucking weird. Okay, so the price... Oh, palladium actually went down. Palladium right now, well, it's still for an ounce, just for an ounce.
Yeah,
is $1,238.31. Oh, I'm sorry, Oscar. That's platinum. Tired. Palladium is $2,889.26 for an ounce.
That's double what you just fucking said.
Yeah, for an ounce. Okay, yeah. Gold is $1,783.89. So the difference between palladium and gold. People think gold is like the most precious metal. It's not right now. It's fucking palladium.
Yeah. Well, it changes with what was needed, what is used, I guess, and cell phones are a big
Yeah, exactly. So I'm sure sure all mobile devices to some degree uses palladium. I'll guarantee.
Is that part of why it's so fucking expensive?
Yeah, and because it's so, it's more rare than gold.
Yeah.
It's more rare, so therefore more expensive.
That's why you keep the old phones, I guess, right?
Yeah, you could find videos on YouTube on how people pull palladium out of phones and stuff, but you got to have 1,000 phones.
No, you gotta have but you also gotta have a very specialized tool.
I'm sure.
I don't have that shit. Yep. Yeah, and like that too. Yeah. That is. I mean, I've known about palladium, and it's like I've always wondered, like, what's in an Etch-a-Sketch? Like, what's that made of?
Oh yeah,
but
graphite,
like it's
I
like
think.
that. Yeah, graphite. Yeah, obviously I found out later. I mean, Breaking Bad showed me that one. But it was stuff like that made me wonder. And so one time I looked up palladium, and that's when I first found out it was super expensive shit. I'm like, holy shit.
Yep.
And like, I never even heard of palladium. I think Iron Man used it in one of the movies. Like, that's how little I know about palladium.
Yeah, and then I
thought that was wild.
I think platinum. Well, platinum was 1238. Gold is 17. Okay, so gold is more than platinum, but platinum you find in catalytic converters on cars. That's why there was this, horrible problem. I think it's still going on where people are jacking up cars, ripping out catalytic converters, and taking the platinum out of the catalytic converters.
Damn.
Yep. That shit is expensive.
Yeah, it's like that whole thing with we were doing the housing stuff and people would take the copper wiring, right? Like
Absolutely.
How that's been common for decades. It's like doing that to everyday items, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a nutty world. I feel also very lazy when I hear stuff like that. I'm like, people are so resourceful about getting shit that I could get to.
Right.
I'm just not doing it.
Just go out and look down the street. There's platinum all up and down the street.
Where the pause comes in. But in reality, on your track, it's a few seconds less. And on my track, maybe a second more.
Holy shit.
it makes way less sense. I mean, I get the rough idea, so that's still fine. So I thought you get a kick out of that.
So I'm not really helping you at all by doing the timestamps. I'm making it worse.
You're not making it worse because it's still like a very rough, like within that range. It's not. I mean, I still want it, and you don't have to make it for this one because this one's insane. I can just listen to it and wait for them.
Yeah, I feel like I just feel like you should edit it the way you want it to be because this is, I mean, yours.
Yeah.
You put so much into this. I don't want to get it wrong. I'm afraid to get it wrong.
No. You're not gonna get it wrong. But yeah, no, you're good. Yeah. Just a weird hours lately. So someone in my store from the morning got COVID.
Oh no.
And she got it because it was between the 2-week period of getting the second vaccine shot and like
she got it in
effect.
between. Oh.
Yeah. Because apparently you have to wait a week or two after you take the second one to actually take effect.
That's right. Yeah.
And it happened within that time.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Totally sucks. She's fine though. I mean, she's fine, but yes, so far.
Nomadland. Nomadland. Have you seen it?
I've seen almost all of them.
You did? Okay. Good? Because I kind of want to see that one.
Oh, yeah, I did. I really did enjoy it, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's for me. I didn't love it the way people love it. I can appreciate the movie. It's a movie that I completely appreciate. I can understand why it's there. And I really would prefer, I think I would prefer that person to win, the director, because she's a newcomer. She's only made one movie before. I really prefer that other movie. Like emotionally speaking, it will really help. Like it satisfied me a lot more. It sounds really pornographic. But no, that movie, The Writer, is so fucking good. I love that movie so much. But like this movie, Nomadland, is very good. I can see why people feel the same way as I do with The Writer, but I never felt that emotional connection.
Okay.
But it's also kind of a slow movie. It's like a half documentary. It's very different, just so you know. It's a very different kind of movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, you know.
Yeah, I was thinking about checking it out.
Yeah, it's definitely, I don't think you'll find nothing in it. Like, you'll find something like.
Cool.
Yeah. Have you seen, oh my God. Have you seen Promising Young Woman?
No.
Oh my God. Wow. Oh my God.
Really?
Careful with that movie. It is my favorite out of the bunch.
I saw, I think, you know who, the little Amazon device that listens. I seen an ad for that movie on that.
Oh, okay. So you saw the trailer?
Yeah. Very short.
Got it. I haven't seen the trailer. I have no idea what it's supposed or what it says even. But it's so weird. I'm not weird. It's just it's not different either because you've seen this stuff before, but it's just the way it's presented. It's so in your face, bro. It's really in your face. It's
okay.
Like the Requiem for a Dream of the Me Too movement. There's a very similar thing at work. Wait. I'm not comparing it to that because yours is actual hard work and you deserve it. It's not the same.
Thanks.
But there's this thing at work called Partner of the Quarter, which I'm sure you've heard of. It's like Partner of the Month.
Yeah.
Employee of the Month, right? But it's of the quarter, so every 3 months. And the way it works is that everyone in the store votes for the person, and the one who gets the most votes gets, I think, like $50 and a little pin or something, some bullshit. Yeah. And when they started doing this well into my being there. It's not like they started it way before I got there. And I cared for about the first time, and then I stopped immediately. And that's because, like, I mean, first of all, everyone got chosen eventually. I never got chosen, by the way. No, but very good reason. I made fun of it constantly. And this is some bullshit thing. Watch, you're going to win next, and it's going to be bullshit, and you're not going to really deserve it. So I don't know why you give a flying fuck about getting voted for something. It's just a popularity contest. I would say that to everyone. And I will complain to the customers, too, about it. Like, look at bullshit. Look at they want me to vote on this. And my manager always wants me to vote. At some point, many times she makes it seem like it's mandatory. I'm like, I'm not voting.
That's awesome.
I'm like, you can't vote for yourself. I don't give a fuck. I'm not voting for myself either.
I'm not wearing the flare.
You're not wearing what?
Remember from, wasn't it Office Space? The Flare with Jennifer Aniston. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that movie that well. It's been a long time.
Okay.
It's been a long time.
She worked at do you remember Bennigan's restaurants back in the day?
Yes, I do. Yes,
yeah,
I do.
So
Are they still around?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I really don't think so. But it was making fun of like a Bennigan's, and she had to wear all these pins on her outfit, and they called it flare.
Yes. I remember. I didn't know they called it flare, but I remember the pins and shit.
Yeah, that's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, there's a bunch of Star Wars runners with a bunch of pins. I've gotten pins too, but I got my own like art pins, and stuff like that. Actually, I can show you. No, wait. No, not right now. I'll show you next time. I have a really lewd pin that I can never wear to work.
Ooh.
Do you like it though? So yeah, and I always say it's so bullshit. Every time someone brings it up, I'm like, don't fucking vote. It's fucking bullshit. Don't vote.
I'm boycotting.
Oh my god. Here, I'm just gonna show you like 30 seconds of this thing.
Okay.
Or.
It's awesome. Dude, is that like an MP3?
I got it on Spotify, yeah. Do you want me to send it to you?
Yes, please. I could have some fun with that with a few people at work.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
That's
for
exactly
sure.
What I was like, I can show this to 50,000 people for any kind of reason. But here's the funny thing. What do you think the name of the song is?
Fucking bullshit.
You would think so. It's called Galactic Mermaid.
What?
I have no idea why.
Oh my god.
The least likeliest name for that song. Get Poppy out. I'm gonna paste it to you.
Fucking bullshit.
It's so good. And this is the whole thing. It's like 2 minutes of that. Three minutes. I'm sending it and it's sent.
And locations.
Got it.
Because when I put it into the show notes, I like to have the name of the location and the state and the country or city and country.
Yeah.
So that's it. But I've heard of Oak Ridge. I've heard of Los Alamos, Area 51, obviously, Bohemian Grove, Pullman. Well, here, I'll ask you. Mount Weather, I heard of it. I didn't realize it was what it
Virginia.
was. Yeah, I didn't realize it was what it was. So that one is, I figured it was the Mount Weather Emergency Operations Center.
Yeah.
That's what you're referring to? Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard about that crash only because I'm crazy with flying, and I
right.
I heard about it somewhere.
One of your many paranoid things. Yeah.
Stuck in my mind. And then I feel like I heard of that Seversk.
Oh, yeah?
Closed city. Okay. So I have Oak Ridge. I have Los Alamos National Laboratory. I have the Hanford Nuclear Complex. Is that right?
Well, Hanford had a building called the Nuclear Complex, but Hanford was actually the name of the town too.
So is Hanford considered a closed city?
No. Hanford no longer exists. Hanford is now called Richland.
So I wonder, should I just call it Hanford then?
I actually, in my notes, I call it Hanford/Richland.
And that's RIDGELAND?
Rich, RISCHLAND.
Yeah. Richland. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Hanford.
I'm eating pretzels.
No. And that's in Washington. Okay. Then I have Atlas Missile Silo. Is that what you were going for?
For the Roswell?
Yes.
Yes.
Atlas Missile Silo. Perfect. Okay. Area 51 so what, so Area 51, is it, because you're not talking about, it seemed like you weren't talking about the base itself, but you were talking about, because you had the picture of like an entryway. You had a picture.
Yeah, I was just showing one of the entryways. Yeah, I think, didn't I show oh yeah, I guess I almost picked an aerial view, but I didn't.
Okay, but calling it Area 51 is fine, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I have North Brother Island, New York.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is it a closed city or is it just North Brother Island, do you think?
It is a closed island, yes.
North Border Island.
It's really an island. It used to be a settlement, but it's nothing there. There's no one there.
Okay, but should I call it North Brother Island Closed City or just North Brother Island, do you think?
I think just North Brother Island because they don't call it a closed city.
Okay, cool. East End Island, I could not find.
Oh, that should be capitalized. East End Islands. I talk about 5 islands on the East End.
East End Islands. And
yeah,
is that
islands.
Is that New York? Where is that?
It's in New York, yes.
So I'll just say New York then.
Yeah, right. Because there's multiple islands, and I just grouped them up the way they were.
Cool. New York.
So actually, that's like 5 entries in that one.
Wow. Yeah, and I feel like I've heard of East End before. I think.
Yeah, it's a high-end place, I think. But I don't know much about New York.
So East End Islands, New York, United States. Then we have Bohemian Grove in Monte Rio. Mm-hmm. Pullman, is that Chicago?
Yes.
That's what I thought. Pullman.
I mean, it's not a town. It's just a burb of Chicago. It's a neighborhood. It's not a real anything.
But it is Chicago, isn't it?
It's Chicago City, yeah.
Yeah. Nice. That's nice. That's going to be cool. Illinois.
And I can give you the other stuff too for the Russian. I know the regions or their version of states if you want them.
Okay, I think I found some of them. I'll run them by you and see if I'm right.
Mm-hmm.
So Pullman, I could say it's neighborhood because isn't Pullman a district or Pullman neighborhood?
Yeah, it's a neighborhood. Yeah, I would put neighborhood, I guess. I forgot what I called it. I think I called it like a burb or something. It's not a burb technically, but whatever they call it.
Pullman neighborhood, Chicago. And then we have Mount Weather Emergency Operations Center in Bluemont, Virginia.
Yes.
Then we have, so Mercury. How do you name that one? I wasn't sure what you were going with that one.
Mercury is in a small town, closed town, and in Nevada. It's called Mercury, Nevada. Mm-hmm.
Mercury closed town. So we could call that one, we could call a closed town.
It is for sure.
Mercury closed. And then we have the Seversk closed city.
Yeah, it's in the Tomsk Oblast.
There it is. Got it. Okay. And then I'm not even going to try the Vilish. So were you going for a
Vilyuchinsk? It's in the Kamchatka Krai.
Kamchatka Krai, Russia. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And is that a submarine base?
It is.
So I could just call it that submarine base.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
It's also a fishing town too.
And then Sarav closed city.
Yeah, in Nizhny Novgorod Oblast.
Oblast. Okay, perfect. Mm-hmm. And then
Ozyorsk.
Yes,
it's in Chelyabinsk Oblast.
Dude, you're good on those words. But and that's a closed city as well, correct?
Yes, these all are.
Okay, and then Norilsk closed city.
Oh yeah, Norilsk is. You're gonna love that one. Norilsk is closed, but also for different reasons. But yeah, Krasnoyarsk Krai.
Dude, you're so good at that. I couldn't.
No, for all I know, it's fucking said completely different. I'll never know.
You know what? It sounds good. I'd go with it.
Yeah.
And then
I'm going with it.
And then I think that was it.
Mm-hmm.